I never thought I'd end up working in a graveyard. But when rent was due and my savings were almost gone, I took what I could get. It started with a small ad in the paper. No company name, just a line that said, "Night watch needed 3 hours, good pay." No questions. I called the number. A man answered with a dry voice. He said, "Come to St. Alden's Cemetery, tonight, 10:30 sharp." Then he hung up. No interview, no address, just a place and time. I showed up that night. It was colder than I expected. St. Alden's looked forgotten, overgrown grass, leaning headstones, old rusted gates. A small shed stood near the entrance. The door was open. Inside sat an old man, thin, grey, wrinkled. He didn't look up when I stepped in. I said, "I'm here for the job." He just nodded. Slowly, he handed me a notebook. It looked old, like the kind kids used in school a long time ago. The pages were yellow. Then he finally spoke. "Write your name and time in timeout when you leave. That's all." I looked around. No cameras. Nope. Do I walk around or just sit? He shrugged. "You can walk. You can sit. Doesn't matter. Just stay inside the gates from 11 to 2. I waited for more. Rules, duties, anything. Instead, he stood up, grabbed a coat, and walked out the door. No goodbye, no warning, just left. I looked down at the notebook. Flipping through, I saw names written in shaky handwriting. Some pages had lines crossed out. One name had no sign-out time. I figured it was a mistake. At 11 p.m., I stepped into the graveyard. It was quiet. Too quiet. I tried not to stare at the graves. Some were really old dates from the 1800s. A few had flowers. Most didn't. I kept walking. The place felt big. Bigger than it looked during the day. Every few minutes, I checked my watch. Time moved. Slow. Like it didn't want me to leave. After a while, I sat on a broken bench near a tall angel statue. It looked sad, almost scared. I heard a rustling sound to my left. I turned fast, but nothing was there. Just a grave with a fresh pile of dirt. No name on the stone, just a plain white marker. Maybe someone buried today. I stood up and walked back toward the shed. Still had another hour to go. At 1:57, I checked my watch again. Almost done. Then I heard it 3 slow knocks. Knock. 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 I spun around. Nothing behind me. No one there. I looked toward the gate, still shut. I whispered, "Hello," but I didn't really want an answer. The air felt thick now, like the ground was holding its breath. Finally, 2 a.m. hit. My watch beeped. I grabbed the notebook, signed out fast, and left the shed. The old man wasn't waiting. I drove home without looking in the rearview mirror. Next morning, I got a text. "Payment sent. Come again tomorrow. Same time, no name, no thanks, just a message." And I didn't know it yet, but that was the easiest night I'd ever have in that graveyard. My first shift at the graveyard felt strange right from the start. I got there at 10:45 p.m. The old man wasn't in the shed this time, just the notebook on the table, right where I left it last night. I signed in, name, Tom time, in, 11 o'clock p.m. Then I stepped outside the shed and into the graveyard. Everything looked quiet. No lights except the moon. The graves stretched out in every direction. Some had tall stones. Some were so old I couldn't read the names. The ground was uneven, like it had been moved around too many times. I walked along the dirt path, trying not to trip. The place was bigger than I thought. Maybe the dark made it feel that way. After a while, I noticed one grave. That looked different. It was fresh. The dirt was darker and loose. No grass on it yet. And there was no headstone, just a plain white rock sitting at the top. That was it. I stopped and stared at it. There were no flowers, no name, no dates. Just the stone. Thought, that grave wasn't here last night. I looked around. Nothing but shadows and trees. I kept walking. I didn't bring a phone or headphones. The old man never said I couldn't, but it didn't feel right. Like this place wanted silence. Every step I took, I kept feeling like someone was watching me. Not from far away, but close. I stopped and turned around. No one, I said. Hello. Nothing. I stood there for a bit, trying to listen. Just quiet. I walked back to the bench near the angel statue. It was the only place to sit. I checked my watch. 1:32 a.m. I stared out at the graveyard. The rows of stones looked like teeth sticking out of the ground. The shadows didn't move. Nothing did. I kept glancing back at the fresh grave. It was hard not to. Something about it felt wrong. I don't know how to explain it, but it looked like it was ... waiting. I checked the time again. 1:58. Almost done. I stood up and stretched. 1:59. Started walking back toward the shed. Then I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. I froze. It came from right behind me, not far away. Not from a building or tree. Right behind me. I didn't move for a few seconds. Then slowly, I turned around. Nothing. No one. The graveyard looked the same. The stones, the trees, the dirt. I looked at the fresh grave. It hadn't changed. I stood there, my heart beating fast. I couldn't hear anything else. Just my own breathing. Then my watch beeped. 2 a.m. I didn't wait. I walked fast back to the shed, signed out, and got in my car. I didn't even close the notebook. I just left as I drove away. I looked at the gate in the mirror. It was still open. But I swear I saw someone standing behind the white grave, just standing there, watching me go. The next night, I showed up a little early. I wanted to talk to the caretaker. He was sitting inside the shed, same spot as before. His hands were folded, and he was staring at the floor. I stepped in and said, "Hey, I had a weird moment last night." He didn't look at me. I waited. Then he finally said, "Was it the grave?" That surprised me. "Yeah," I said. "The fresh one. The one with the white rock." He nodded once. Still no eye contact. "And the knocking," I added, "at 2. Did you ever before I could finish?" He cut me off. "Don't answer." "Anyone," he said. I blinked. "What?" He looked up at me for the first time. His eyes were tired, dry, like someone who hadn't slept in weeks. "If anyone talks to you inside the graveyard," he said slowly, "do not answer them." I didn't know what to say. "You mean like a visitor or someone messing around?" He shook his head. "Not a visitor." "Then who?" I asked. He turned his head toward the graveyard. His eyes locked on something outside. The fresh grave. He didn't blink. I asked again, "What's going on with that grave?" He didn't answer. I looked at the logbook on the table. That grave wasn't there the first night, right? No reply. I just want to know what I'm dealing with. I said, if this place is haunted or something, I need to know. Still staring at the grave, he said, some graves don't stay settled. What does that mean? He didn't answer. I tried again. Was someone buried there recently? Do you even know who it is? He finally looked at me and said, you took the job. Just do the job. I felt a chill in my chest. Not from the cold, from the way he said it. Quiet, flat, like he didn't care what happened to me. You can quit any time, he added. But if you stay, no talking, no matter what you hear. He stood up, walked past me, and opened the shed door. I looked at him. What happens if I talk back? He paused for a second, then stepped outside. As he walked away, he mumbled something. I barely caught it. Voices like that, they don't forget. He didn't say goodbye, just kept walking into the dark. I stood there for a minute, trying to shake off the feeling. Then I looked out the shed window. That fresh grave was still there, still clean, still waiting. I didn't want to go back after. What happened the night before the knocking, the fresh grave? The caretaker's warning, I told myself I should quit. But I didn't. Maybe it was the money. Maybe I just wanted to prove I wasn't scared. Either way, I showed up again at 10:55 p.m. The shed was empty. The notebook was waiting for me. I signed in, name, Tom time in 11 o'clock p.m. Then I stepped out into the graveyard. It felt different, this time, not louder, not darker, just heavier, like something was hanging in the air. I started walking down the path, same as before. I kept my flashlight off. I didn't want to draw attention, though I wasn't sure from what. I passed the old graves, the broken stones, the ones with flowers. Then I saw it, the fresh grave, same spot, same white stone, but the dirt looked different, messier, like something had pushed up from underneath. I stared at it for a second, then looked away. That's when I heard it. A sound beneath the ground, faint but real. It didn't sound like animals. It was slow, almost like dragging. Then came something else, a whisper. I couldn't tell what it said. It was low, soft, like someone talking through thick cloth. I took a step back. I looked around. Nothing moved. No one was there. I told myself I was tired. My mind was playing tricks. Still, I stayed away from the grave. I walked toward the back of the cemetery where the trees grew thicker. That's when I saw someone, far ahead, maybe 20 feet away, standing still, facing the fresh grave. I froze. They didn't move. They didn't turn, just stood there, stiff like a statue. I called out, "Hey, you're not supposed to be here." No answer. I took a few steps forward. "Do you need help?" I asked. Still nothing. I walked faster, keeping my eyes on them. They were tall, wearing something dark. I couldn't see their face. When I got about 10 feet closer, they were gone. Just like that gone dot, I looked around. Spinning in a circle, there was nowhere to hide. No trees thick enough. No stones that big. I stood there, my hands shaking. Then, I looked back at the fresh grave. The white stone was still there, but it felt like it was staring at me now. Like it knew I saw something I wasn't supposed to. The whispering started again, softer now, but closer. It came from all directions. I backed up slowly. My foot hit something. I looked down. It was a small hole, not deep, just enough to trip over. I hadn't seen it before, like the dirt had just shifted. I stepped away fast. I looked at my watch. 1:41 a.m. Still over 15 minutes to go. I didn't want to be here anymore. I walked toward the shed. Not running, but not slow either. With each step, it felt like the air was pushing against me, like something didn't want me to leave. At 1:59, I reached the door. I waited, not even a full minute left. I didn't hear the knock this time, but I heard one thing clearly. A voice, just one word from far behind me. It whispered, "Stay." My hand was already on the notebook at 2 o'clock. I signed out. I didn't turn around. I just left, and all the way to my car. I felt that word following me. Stay. I came back on the third night, even though I didn't want to. I kept telling myself it was just a weird job. Nothing was real. My mind was just playing tricks. But deep down, I knew something was wrong with that grave. I signed in at the shed. Name, Tom. Time, 11 p.m. Then I walked out into the graveyard. Right away, I went to check the fresh grave, and yeah, it had changed. The dirt looked lower than before, like someone had scooped a layer out. Not much, just enough to notice. Stood there, staring at it. I hadn't seen any workers, no tools, no tracks, and still no name, no flowers, nothing. Just that plain white rock sitting at the top like before. I crouched down and looked closer. The middle of the grave had been dragged. The soil was messed up, not smooth like it should be. There were marks, like fingers or something had pulled across it. Not a shovel, not an animal. It looked like something had been moving from underneath. I stood up and backed away. My first thought was, someone's trying to get out. Then I thought, or something's pulling them back in. Either way, I didn't like it. I looked around and grabbed a broken stick from the grass. I walked back and pressed it into the edge of the grave, right where the dirt started to rise. I wanted to mark it, just to see if it would move again. The stick stood there, halfway in the ground. I checked my watch. 11:24 p.m. I sat on a nearby stone and kept my eyes on that grave. For a while, nothing happened. I didn't move, didn't look away. I just watched. Around 11:50, I blinked for a second, and when I looked again, the stick was gone. I walked over. The dirt where the stick had been was smoother now. The edge had changed. I got down on one knee and ran my hand along it. Soft, loose dot, like something had sucked the stick into the grave. I didn't know what to do. I whispered, "What the hell?" That's when I felt it. A tiny vibration under the ground. I jumped back. It stopped. I stood there, heart racing, waiting to hear something else. But everything was still. I stared at the grave. It looked normal again, but I knew it wasn't. That dirt was alive. Not like a person. More like a mouth. Like it opened and closed when no one was looking. I turned around and walked fast, back to the other side of the cemetery. I didn't care about patrol anymore. I just wanted to stay far from that thing. I checked my watch. 12:07. Still 2 more hours to go. I tried to walk the path like usual, but I kept glancing over my shoulder. I couldn't stop thinking about that stick. The way it vanished. The way the ground changed shape. It didn't make sense. I thought about what the old man said. Some graves don't stay settled. Now I knew what he meant. This grave wasn't resting. It was breathing, and something inside. It was moving. That night felt worse than the others. I don't know why. Something just felt off, like the graveyard was waiting for me. I signed in again. Same time, same name. Tom, 11 p.m. I didn't walk around much that night. I stayed near the shed for the first hour. Every time I thought about that grave, my stomach twisted. But at 1:30 a.m., I forced myself to check it. I walked the path slowly. Every step felt heavier than the last. When I reached the fresh grave, I stopped. Something was different. The white stone was gone. I looked around the area. No sign of it. Just the dark dirt piled up in a strange whale, like someone had crawled across it with their arms. I checked my watch. 1:42 a.m. Then I saw him, a man, standing on the far side of the grave. I didn't hear him walk up. He was just there. I froze. He didn't move, didn't speak, just stared at me. He looked wrong. His skin was pale and shiny, like he was soaking wet. Water dripped from his sleeves and pants. His eyes were wide, too wide. He didn't blink. Then he smiled. Not a normal smile. Not scared, not friendly, just empty. He tilted his head and said in a soft voice, "Can you help me out?" I didn't answer. I thought of what the old man told me. If anyone talks to you in the graveyard, don't answer. The man's smile didn't fade. He slowly lifted one arm and pointed to the grave. "I just need a hand," he said. His voice was quiet, calm, like this was a normal thing to ask, but nothing about it was normal. I took one step back. His eyes followed me, but he didn't move. Water dripped from his fingertips. I could hear it hitting the dirt. Then, without warning, his feet began to sink. The ground pulled at him slowly, like thick mud. He didn't fight it. He just kept smiling at me. The soil crawled up his legs, past his knees. His arms hung loose at his sides. "Don't go," he said. "You heard me. I didn't speak. I didn't move." The dirt reached his chest. His head tilted more, almost sideways now. His smile didn't change. "You see me," he whispered. I stayed quiet. His shoulders sank, then his chin. But his eyes never left mine. Even when the dirt reached his mouth, his smile stayed. And then he was gone, completely swallowed. The grave looked smooth again, like nothing had ever been there. I stood, frozen, for a long time. Finally, I looked around. The cemetery was empty. The trees didn't move. There was no wind, no sound. I checked my watch. 1:49 a.m. I turned and walked straight back to the shed. I didn't run. I didn't talk. I just walked. When I got there, I sat on the floor with my back against the door. I kept the lights off. I waited for the watch to beep at 2 o'clock. I didn't look outside again. Not that night. Not after that face that night. When I got home, I didn't sleep. I sat at my kitchen table with the old logbook in front of me. The caretaker gave it to me on the first night. I never really looked at it. Just signed in and out, like he said. But after what I saw last night, the man sinking into the grave, I needed to know more. The cover was torn. The corners were soft, like it had been handled a lot. I opened it. The first few pages were normal. Just names, dates, and times. All signed in the same way I had done. Some people had only stayed one night. Some names came back for a few shifts. One page had a note beside the time. Strange sounds near the trees. Another thought I saw someone by the fence. Gone when I looked again. I flipped forward to the last few pages. That's when things got weird. The handwriting changed a lot. Some names were barely readable. Some were scratched out. One page had this. Night 3, I answered him. I shouldn't have. The rest of the lines were covered in black ink, like someone had gone over it again and again, trying to hide whatever was written. I stared at it for a long time. Answered who? Was it the same man I saw? Did someone else speak to him? I turned the page. Another line stood out, written in shaky letters. Don't stay past 3 hours, no matter what. That one hit me hard. The rule had always been clear, in at 11, out at 2. But no one ever told me what would happen if I stayed longer. I flipped to the next page. It was ripped. Only half of it remained. All I could read was "He waits under," the fresh ones. Then the rest was gone. The last entry in the book was strange too. It didn't have a name. Just this. Grave was open when I arrived. Rock was missing. Something's wrong. Might leave early. There was no sign-out time. I closed the book and stared at the wall. Who were these people? Where did they go? Why wasn't the caretaker warning anyone? I looked down at the cover again. The back had a small sticker with a number on it. It looked like a library barcode but rubbed off. This book had been passed around for years, and now it was mine. I sat in the quiet and thought about what I had read. Someone answered the man. Someone stayed past 2 a.m. And now I was on my third night too. I told myself this would be the last night. No more ignoring things. No more pretending it was just a job. I needed to know what was really going on. So I got ready. I packed a big flashlight, my phone to record everything, and 3 little bags of salt. I had no idea if salt would help, but I read somewhere it might. Keep things away. I got to the graveyard at 10:45 p.m. The shed was empty, as usual. The caretaker hadn't shown up in days. Maybe he knew what was coming. I signed in. Name, Tom. Time, in 11 p.m. I stood by the shed for a while. I almost didn't go in, but then I thought about the man in the grave and what he said. You see me, you heard me. I had to finish this dot at 11:15. I walked out with the flashlight in one hand and the recorder on in my pocket. Everything felt wrong. The air felt thick. My arms felt heavy, like the whole graveyard was watching me. I didn't hear anything. No wind, no bugs, not even the usual crunch of dirt under my shoes. Just silence. I went straight to the fresh grave. It looked the same, like nothing had changed, but I knew it had. I poured a ring of salt around it, then backed away. Nothing moved. I sat down on a nearby stone and waited. The minutes crawled by. Midnight, then 12:30, then 1 o'clock. I kept checking my watch, counting down. I told myself I'd leave at 2 o'clock, no matter what. That was the rule, 3 hours only. But deep down, I already knew something was going to go wrong. At 1:59, I stood up and gripped the flashlight. I looked at the grave. Still no sound, no whispers, no voice, just stillness. I watched my second hand tick down. 1 minute to go. My heart pounded. I kept thinking, just let it hit 2 o'clock and I'll leave. Just hold on. Then it hit 2 a.m., but nothing happened. No beep from my watch. No click. The hand just stopped. I tapped the glass, still stuck. I looked at my phone. The screen was frozen. The time said 1:59, and it didn't change. I turned in a circle, scanning the graveyard. Everything was frozen. The trees, the grass, even the shadows. Then I saw him, the man, standing at the edge of the salt circle. closer than before. His eyes were wide, his head tilted. He smiled again. "You stayed," he said. "I told you not to." I didn't move. I couldn't. He stepped forward. The salt didn't stop him. His foot crushed the line like it meant nothing. "You heard me." Another step. "You see me." He reached out. "You owe me." That broke me. I turned and ran. I sprinted across the graveyard, straight for the gate. It wasn't there, just more graves, more dirt, more stones. I turned left, still nothing. Just row after row of graves I didn't remember seeing before. I ran harder. Still no way out. Everything looked the same, like the whole place was folding in on itself. I shouted, "Let me go." No answer, only that voice behind me. "You owe me." I looked back. He wasn't walking anymore. He was gliding, not fast, but steady. His feet didn't touch the ground. I turned again and ran toward the shed. But when I got there, it was gone. Nothing but a tall black gravestone where the shed should have been. It had no name. I dropped the flashlight. My hands were shaking too much. I pulled out my phone, still frozen, still 1:59. The screen wouldn't move. I screamed and threw. It would shattered on a rock. I dropped to my knees, breathing hard. Then I heard him, right behind me. "I waited for you." I turned, slowly. He was inches away. His face didn't move. His smile didn't change. And the last thing he said was, "You should have left when you could." I ran. I didn't know where I was going. I just wanted to get away from him. But every path looked the same. Graves, dirt, stones, all repeating. It felt like the graveyard was getting bigger. While I ran, I turned left, then right, then left again. Still nowhere. I couldn't hear my footsteps anymore. I couldn't hear anything. Just his voice, far behind me. "You should have left." I didn't look back. My legs hurt. My chest was tight. But I kept going. Then my foot hit something. I tripped. I didn't hit the ground. I fell. The dirt opened under me like a trapdoor. I dropped straight down. No sound, no wind, just the feeling of falling. I tried to scream, but nothing came out. I didn't hit anything. I just kept falling. Deeper and deeper, the air changed. It felt thick, like I was underwater. Then I heard them, voices whispering, dozens of them, maybe hundreds. Some were low, some were fast, some laughed, some cried, but they all said the same thing. "Take your turn," over and over. "Take your turn, take your turn, take your turn." I covered my ears. It didn't help. The sound was inside me, inside my head. I started spinning as I fell. The dark twisted around me like smoke. I saw faces, pale, blank, eyes wide open, just floating around me. All of them were watching me, smiling. Some had dirt in their mouths. Others were missing pieces, like they'd been broken. I tried to scream again. Still nothing. Then everything stopped. Just like that, I wasn't falling anymore. I was lying on my back. I opened my eyes. I was in the graveyard, right next to the fresh grave. The dirt was clean again, smooth. The white stone was back in place. I sat up, coughing. My heart was still racing. I looked around. The sky was grey. The trees were frozen. The whole graveyard looked like a picture still and fake. Then I saw it. The stone, it wasn't blank anymore. It had my name on it. Tom Wilder, 1989. My whole body went cold. I backed away from the grave, but my legs were weak. I could barely stand. I looked for the shed. It was there now. I ran to it. The door was open. The logbook was on the table. I flipped to the last page. My sign-in was still there. Name, Tom. Time, in 11 p.m. But the timeout, it was already filled in. Timeout, just a dash, no number. No hour, just empty. Like I never left. I turned the page. There was a new line. Not written by me. Not in my handwriting. It said, he fell in. He took his turn. I stepped back. The room felt smaller. The walls closer. The lights flickered. The air was thick. I looked down at my hands. They were covered in dirt. My arms too, like I'd crawled through the grave. But I didn't remember crawling. I didn't remember climbing out. I just remembered falling. Then, waking up here, I stumbled. Outside again. Everything looked the same. Graves in rows. Trees at the edge. But I knew it wasn't right. Time wasn't moving. The sky wasn't changing. I checked my phone. Still broken. I looked at my watch. Still frozen at 1:59. No matter what I did, the second hand wouldn't tick. I sat down on the grass near my grave. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there waiting. Because deep down, I knew I never really got out of that hole. And maybe I never would. You're probably wondering if I made it out. If I got in my car, drove home, and never went back. But I didn't. I'm still here. I don't know how long it's been. My watch still says 1:59 a.m. It hasn't moved. Not once. The sky never changes. The air never shifts. I walk around, but I don't get anywhere. The shed is always behind me. The grave is always ahead. The same names on the stones. The same dirt under my feet. And the man, he's still here too. Sometimes I see him standing by the grave. Sometimes I don't. But I always feel him. Watching me, waiting. I think I took someone's place. Maybe that's how it works. One person gets out. Another one stays behind. I don't remember climbing out of the grave. I just woke up next to it. But I wasn't the same, and now I'm part of this place. There's something else too. At night, if this place even has a night, I hear voices, not loud, just under the ground. They whisper things, names, numbers, questions. Sometimes they whisper mine. Sometimes they whisper yours. That's why I'm telling you this, not to scare you, to warn you. If you ever see a job that pays too much for doing, too little if they say it's just 3 hours, if it takes place in some old graveyard with no name, don't take it. Don't call the number. Don't show up. Don't sign the book. Because once you do, it doesn't matter how careful you are. It doesn't matter if you follow the rules. I followed them. I didn't answer the voice the first night. I didn't stay past 2 o'clock at least. I don't think I did, but something still got me. Maybe it was already waiting. Maybe it was always mine. I don't know. All I know is I'm still here, still walking the same rows, still hearing the same whisper at 1:59, still stuck between the first knock and the last second that never comes. And now you've heard my story. So if you ever feel like someone is watching you, if your clock flickers at 1:59 and won't move, if you hear something knock 3 times and no one's there, don't answer, don't look, don't come find me, because if you do, you might take my place, and I might finally get out. A long pause. Can you hear them now? I stayed alone at my uncle's farm. Something was living in the cornfield. The countryside feels quiet, too quiet, but out in the cornfield, something was moving, and it knew they were alone. My uncle called me on a Thursday. We don't talk much. I barely know him. He's my mum's older brother, lives alone on a farm way out in the country. No wife, no kids, just him and a bunch of old land. He said, I need someone to watch the house this weekend. That's all, no hello. No small talk, I asked. Why me? He said, your family, you're free. I already left the keys under the porch. That was it. I should have said no. But I didn't. I didn't have much going on, and honestly, I thought it would be nice to get out of the city for a bit. Quiet air, no people, easy money. So I packed a bag and drove out there Friday afternoon. The road was long and bumpy. His house was the only one for miles. There were no streetlights, just empty fields, dead trees, and a huge cornfield behind. The house that stretched on forever. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw him sitting on the porch steps, like he'd been waiting for me. He stood up as I got out of the car. He looked rough, tired eyes, dirty boots, and a flannel shirt that smelled like smoke. He didn't smile. You're late, he said. It was 4 p.m. He didn't invite me in, just walked to the truck and tossed a duffel bag in the back. Won't be gone long, he said. Just the weekend. Where are you going? I asked. He didn't answer, just stared at the cornfield. That's when he said something strange. Don't go into the field after dark. I blinked. What? He looked at me. I mean it. Don't step one foot in there. If you hear something, ignore it. If you see something, stay inside. Lock the doors. You'll be fine if you just leave it alone. He said it like it was normal. I laughed a little. You got coyotes or something? He didn't laugh back. Not coyotes, he said. Just listen. Then he got in his truck, started it up, and drove off without saying goodbye. I stood there, holding my bag, watching the dust trail behind his truck disappear down the road. The House creaked when I stepped inside. Old floors, musty smell. It looked the way I expected. Quiet, messy, worn down. The back windows looked out over the cornfield. Rows and rows of tall, thick stalks, too dense to see through. I watched them. For a while, they didn't move. I remembered what he said. Don't go in after dark. It sounded like a joke, but the way he said it didn't feel like one. I locked the back door before the sun went down, just in case. I spent most of that first night just walking around the house. It was old, dust on every surface. A lot of the furniture looked handmade. The couch in the living room was sagging in the middle. The kitchen smelled like old wood and something sour in the sink. The fridge still worked, but it was mostly empty. A few cans of soda, a jar of pickles, nothing I really wanted. There were 4 rooms upstairs. Only one was made up, the one I was staying in. Just a bed, a lamp, and a dresser. The other rooms were empty, but the walls had weird stains, like water had leaked down in long lines. One room had scratch marks on the inside of the door, down near the bottom. I didn't ask questions. I came back downstairs and looked out the back window. The cornfield was right there, just past the yard. Rows and rows of tall stalks, all the way to the horizon. The weird thing was, the corn kept moving. It didn't. Look windy out, not even a little. The trees weren't swaying, but the corn kept rustling, like something was brushing against it from the inside. I watched it for a while. It never stopped. It wasn't loud, just soft, like someone walking through. Slowly, row by row, I went outside to check. I stood on the back steps and looked at the edge of the field. Nothing there. The rustling got quieter when I stepped out, like whatever it was had gone deeper in. I waited another minute, then went back inside and locked the door again by midnight. I got tired and went up to bed. I laid there staring at the ceiling for a while, trying not to think about the corn. Then, just as I was starting to fall asleep, I heard footsteps, soft ones. Outside at first, I thought it was an animal, maybe a deer or something. But then the steps circled the house. I sat up. They were slow, not running, not stomping, just walking all the way around, from the front to the side. Then under my window, I got out of bed and moved toward the window. I didn't look out right away. I just listened. The footsteps stopped. I waited. Nothing. Then they started again. Now heading toward the back of the house, I rushed downstairs, not turning on any lights. I peeked out the kitchen window, the one that faced the cornfield. No one was there, but the corn was moving again. Same rustling, same steady pace. I opened the back door just a crack and listened. The footsteps were gone. I shut the door and locked it again. I checked every window. I made sure all the lights were off. Then I sat at the kitchen table with my phone and just waited. I didn't hear the footsteps again that night, but the corn never stopped moving. I woke up late the next morning. I didn't sleep much the night before after hearing those footsteps. But when I finally got up, the house felt normal again, quiet still. I made some coffee and stepped out onto the back porch. The cornfield was calm, no sound, no movement. I decided to walk around a little, maybe clear my head. I followed the fence, lined toward the side of the cornfield. I didn't go in, just stayed along the edge. That's when I saw them, scarecrows, 3 of them, deep in the corn rows. I hadn't noticed them before. They weren't close, maybe 40 or 50 feet in. but I could still make them out between the tall stalks. The first one looked normal. Old clothes, straw hat, arms spread wide. The second one had no hat, and the head was just a sack tied at the neck. No face. But the third one, that one made me stop. It stood a little taller. Its arms weren't stretched out like the others. They were hanging by its sides. It wore jeans and a dark HOODIE. No straw, no wood frame, just a shape. A full human shape. It looked like someone had buried a real person in clothes and tied it to a stick. I stared at it for a long time. Then the corn shifted, just slightly, and I lost sight of it. I turned around and went back to the house, all day. I couldn't stop thinking about that third scarecrow. The shape, the way it was standing. Too still, too real. That night, it got worse. Around 11 p.m., I heard the rustling again, but this time, it wasn't far. It was at the edge of the yard. I looked out the back window and saw the corn moving, one row at a time, as if something was walking through. It, slow and steady. I shut off the lights, locked every door, checked all the windows. I didn't see anything come out of the corn, but the rustling stayed. All night, like something was waiting. Just past the last row, I sat in the hallway with a kitchen knife and a flashlight. I didn't sleep. When the sun finally came up, the sound stopped. I stood up, tired, and went to check the house again. Every door was still locked. But when I reached the upstairs hallway, I felt a breeze. One of the bedroom doors was cracked. Open. I pushed it the rest of the way. The window was wide open. I never opened it, and I know it was shut the night before. I didn't see any footprints, no marks, but the curtain was blowing, and the screen was popped loose. Something had been there. Maybe it still was. I shut the window, locked it. Then I sat on the bed, staring at the door. That scarecrow came back into my mind. The one in the hoodie, the one that didn't look like the others. I think it moved. That evening, I sat out on the porch around sunset. I didn't want to go back inside yet. I didn't want to be alone with my thoughts. The corn was still. No wind, no movement. Then I heard it. At first I thought it was nothing, just a soft sound, far off. But it kept going, a faint whisper coming from deep in the field. I leaned forward. It sounded like someone saying my name, Tom. I froze. The voice was low and slow, not loud, not clear, just soft enough to hear, but hard to tell where it came from. I stood up and stepped to the edge of the porch. It stopped. I waited. Nothing. I shook my head and muttered, "Probably the wind." But even saying that felt like a lie. Still, I went. Back inside, closed the door, locked it. I grabbed my phone and opened the voice recorder app. I figured if it happened again, I'd catch it. If I had proof, maybe I'd feel less crazy. At 10:47 p.m., I pressed record and placed the phone by the window. Then I sat at the kitchen table and waited. It didn't take long. By 11:15, I heard it again, the same voice, Tom. It came from the field. But this time it was closer, like it had moved up a few rows. Then I heard it again. "Help me." I stood up, heart pounding. I didn't go to the door. I just stood still and listened. The voice came one more time. "Don't. Leave me out here." Then silence. I rushed over and stopped the recording. I hit play, but there was nothing. Just static. No voice, no whisper, not even background noise. Just a dead, silent file. I stared at the phone. That's when I heard the scratch dots slow and dry, right at the back door. One long scrape, like fingernails dragging across the wood. I didn't move. Another scrape. I grabbed a kitchen knife from the drawer. My hands were shaking. I tiptoed to the back door. I didn't turn on the porch light. I didn't open the blinds. I just stood there, holding my breath. Another scratch, then a knock. Just once. Then nothing. I waited for 5 minutes. 10, no more sounds. Finally, I looked through the blinds. Nothing was there, just the porch, the steps, the edge of the field in the distance. I opened the door slowly and stepped outside with my flashlight. I shined it across the porch, right near the door. On the wood were 4 long marks, like something had clawed it. I backed into the house and shut the door, locked it again, then dragged a chair in front of it. I didn't sleep that night. I'd sat on the kitchen floor with the lights off and the knife in my hand. The corn didn't move, but the whisper stayed in my head. It sounded like someone I knew, but I couldn't remember who. I woke up to loud sounds outside. Dozens of crows. Maybe more. I went to the window and looked out. They were flying over the cornfield in big circles. None of them landed. They just kept flying and screaming. It wasn't normal. I stepped outside to get a better look. The sky was full of them spinning over the same part of the field near the back corner. The corn there looked darker somehow, taller, like it had grown overnight. Then I saw it. One of the scarecrows had moved. It was closer to the edge now, not deep in the field like before. It was the one with the hoodie, the one that looked too real. It was facing the house now. I stared at it for a long time. It didn't move, but I know it wasn't there yesterday. I walked back inside and shut the door. I felt sick. I didn't eat breakfast. I couldn't think straight. By noon, the crows were still there. I needed to talk to someone, anyone. There was one other house about a mile down the road. I remembered passing it on the way in. I got in the car and drove. When I got there, I saw an old man out front, working on a tractor. I parked and stepped out. "Hi," I said. "I'm staying at the Welder farm for the weekend." My uncle asked. "Me too," he cut me off. "That place still standing?" I nodded. "Yeah, it's still there. Listen, have you ever seen anything weird out by the cornfield?" He didn't answer right away. He wiped his hands on a rag and looked me in the eye. "What kind of weird voices at night?" I said. "Something walking around? Scarecrows moving?" He looked past me toward the road. Then he said, "You stayed there last night?" "Yes, going back tonight, I guess." "I mean, I have to," he interrupted again. "Don't talk to it," I blinked. "What if it speaks to you? If it sounds like someone you know?" "Don't answer." He said it like he meant it. Like he wasn't joking at all. I asked, "What is it?" He shook his head. "Not sure, but it's not a man. It's not a person. It wants you to hear it. Once you hear it, it tries to pull you in." I felt cold all over. He stepped closer. "It's not trapped in the field. It is the field. It spreads through it, hides inside it." "Have you seen it?" I asked. He looked at the dirt and nodded. "When I was a boy, it took my brother. He followed a voice into the corn one night. We never saw him again. I couldn't speak. Don't stay longer than you need to," he said, "and never go in after dark." I thanked him and got in my car. The whole drive back, I couldn't stop shaking. When I pulled into the driveway, The crows were still flying over the corn, and the scarecrow was even closer now. It was standing, just at the edge, still not moving, still facing the house. But I could have sworn its head was tilted this time, like it was watching me that night. I sat on the porch with the lights off. I didn't want to be inside. I didn't want to be outside either. I just didn't know where to go. The crows were gone now. Everything was quiet. Too quiet. I watched the cornfield, waiting for something to happen. I kept thinking about what that old man told me. If it sounds like someone you know, don't answer. I kept hearing his voice in my head. By 11:30, the corn started to move again. Not fast, just slow, steady rustling, something walking through it, but I didn't hear footsteps, only the sound of leaves brushing against something. I gripped the arm of the chair. My mouth felt dry. Then I heard it, a voice, clear, soft. Tom. I froze. It was my mum's voice. Tom, honey, where are you? She sounded scared, like she was lost, but my mum was hours away. There's no way she was out there. I didn't say anything. The voice came again. Tom, please. It's dark. I need you. I stood up. My legs were shaking. Part of me wanted to run inside and lock the door. Another part wanted to go to her. Tom. It's me. It sounded just like her. The voice was getting closer, still inside the corn, still hidden. I stepped back toward the door, but I didn't go in. I couldn't move. I just stood there. Tom, help me. It said it again and again, soft, sad, like she was crying. I started whispering to myself, that's not her, that's not her. But hearing her voice broke something in me. She sounded hurt, like she needed me. I took one step off the porch, just one, then I stopped. I remembered the man's words again. It wants you to hear it. I backed up, sat on the top step. I covered my ears, but I could still hear it. My mum's voice over and over. Tom, come out. I'm scared. I sat there like that for hours, not moving, not blinking. The voice didn't stop. It got softer, then louder, then soft again, but it never left. Sometime near dawn, it faded. The cornfield went still. I opened my eyes. It was light out. I stood up slowly. My whole body felt cold. I looked out over the yard, and that's when I saw them. Footprints in the mud coming from the cornfield. They led all the way to the porch steps. Then back into the corn. Small feet, bare. They looked just like mine, same size, same shape. I followed them with my eyes, right to the edge of the corn. But the field was quiet now, still, like nothing had happened. But I knew something had. It knew my name. It knew her voice. And I almost answered the next morning. I made a choice. I was done sitting around, hearing voices, watching shadows. I needed answers. I needed to see what was in that field. So I grabbed a flashlight, even though it was daytime, and stepped off the porch. The cornfield was taller than me. The stalks were thick and dry, packed close together. As soon as I stepped inside, the world behind me disappeared. I couldn't see the house anymore. I told myself I'd only go a few rows in, just enough to look around. Then I'd come back. The ground was soft under my shoes, wet in places. The deeper I walked, the worse it smelled, like mold and something else, something rotten. I pushed past another row and stopped. Right in front of me was a single old shoe, rotten leather, torn, full of mud. I bent down, there was something inside it. A piece of sock, still attached to bone, tiny bone. I stood up fast. Right beside it was a strip of blue fabric, a sleeve maybe, faded and ripped. I kept walking just a little farther. I found another shoe, smaller, pink, cracked open down the side, and more bones, small ones, too small. I swallowed hard. My mouth felt dry. I turned left and came into a little clearing, a few feet wide. In the middle of it stood a scarecrow. But it wasn't like the others. This one wasn't made of straw. The body was a real body. Skin stretched tight, arms pinned up, face covered with a sack. The hands were black and dry, like they had been burned. One of the fingers still had a ring on it. I stepped back. I couldn't breathe. Then I heard something rustling behind me. I spun around, shining. The flashlight, nothing but the corn, moved again. To my right this time, I turned. Still nothing. I tried to go back the way I came, but every row looked the same. Every turn led to more corn. I moved faster. The corn felt tighter now, closer, like it was pressing in on me. I couldn't find the edge. I started running. Branches slapped my face and arms. Dirt flew up into my shoes. Still no way out. Then I saw something, a shape, another scarecrow. This one in a hoodie, the same one from before. It was standing between the rows, straight ahead. I turned and ran the other way. Finally, I broke through. I stumbled out of the corn and fell on the grass in the backyard. I was shaking all over. I looked back at the field. Nothing moved, but I could feel it, watching, waiting. I got up and walked to the porch. Fast. When I reached the door, I stopped. There was mud on the step, but not mine. It was already dry, like someone else had just come out, right before me. That night felt different. The house felt colder, heavier. I locked every door and window twice, pulled the curtains, turned off the lights, sat in the living room with my back against the wall and a kitchen, knife in my hand. Nothing happened for hours, no footsteps, no whispers, just quiet. Then at exactly 2:07 a.m., there was a knock at the living room window. 3 soft knocks. I held my breath, didn't move. Another knock. Then I heard it, a voice, my voice, coming from outside. "Hey," it said. "It's me, let me in." I didn't understand at first. It sounded just like me. Same tone, same words I'd use. "Come on," it said again. "It's cold out here." I stood up slowly and peeked through the edge of the curtain. No one was. There the yard looked empty. Then the voice moved. I heard it again now, at the back of the house. "Please," it said. "I just want to come inside." Still my voice, still calm, still wrong. It knocked again, louder this time. "Why won't you let me in?" I backed away from the window. My chest hurt. My hands were shaking. It started knocking on every window, one after the other. Living room, kitchen, hallway. Each time, my voice. Each time, "It's okay. It's safe now." Then I heard something else. A sound above me from the attic, slow movement. Wood creaking. Something shifting. I grabbed the flashlight and climbed the attic steps, as quiet as I could. The door opened easy. Inside, everything was dark. Dust floated in the air. I saw boxes, old tools, a broken fan, and in the far corner, a red light. Blinking. Was a small recorder. one of those cheap handheld ones. I walked over and picked it up. It was already playing, on a loop, my voice. It's safe now, over and over, same tone, same pitch. But I never said that, not into this, not ever. I stopped the recording and dropped it on the floor. Then the knocks stopped, all of them at once. I ran downstairs, flipped on every light. Nothing at the windows, nothing outside. I sat on the couch until morning. No sleep, no noise, just those words repeating in my head. It's safe now, only. It wasn't, and it never would be. I woke up on the couch with my heart racing. I couldn't take it anymore. I needed to leave, right then. I didn't care about the job. I didn't care about my uncle. I just wanted to be gone. I grabbed my bag, ran to the car, and started the engine. It worked. I didn't even bother locking the house. I drove fast, flying down the gravel road, trying not to look at the cornfield beside me. After 5 minutes, I saw the turn that led back to town. I took it. Another 10 minutes passed, but then I saw something strange up ahead. The farm, the same. Driveway, the same mailbox, the same porch. I slammed on the brakes. I sat there, staring at it. There was no way I had turned wrong. I didn't even look back. I turned the car around and tried again. This time, I took the other road, the one that passed the neighbor's house, same thing. 20 minutes later, I was back at the farm. It didn't make sense. I checked my phone, dead eye. Had full battery before I left. I tried turning it back on. Nothing. I sat in the car for a while, just staring at the house. Then I noticed something new, the scarecrows. They were closer now. All 3 of them. One stood in the front yard. Another near the porch. The third one, the one in the hoodie, was right at the edge of the cornfield. I got out of the car. I don't even know why. I just needed to see them up close. I walked toward the one near the porch. It didn't move. It looked almost like a person who had been frozen in place. The clothes were filthy. The arms hung at its sides. Then I walked toward the third one, the one in the HOODIE. It had its back to me now, which was strange, because last time it was facing the house. I stepped closer, and then I stopped, because I saw something that made my skin go cold. The pants it wore, the shoes, even the hoodie, they looked exactly like mine. They were mine, same tear on the sleeve, same mud on the shoes. I took another step and saw the face. It was covered with a sack, but the bottom was open just enough to see part of the chin. It looked like mine, same jaw, same scar under the lip from when I fell as a kid. I backed away, shaking. I looked around the yard. All 3 scarecrows now faced me. I turned and ran into the house, slammed the door, locked it. Then I sat in the corner, gripping my head. I didn't know what was real anymore. I didn't know if I had ever really left the field. Maybe I was still in it. Maybe I never got out that day. Maybe that thing in the hoodie wasn't pretending to be me. Maybe it was me, and I was the one pretending. I don't know how much longer I have. If you're hearing this, maybe someone found my phone. Maybe someone found me. I'm writing this now because I don't think I'll make it to morning. Something's wrong with me, with the field, with the scarecrow that looks like me. All day I stayed inside. I didn't eat, I didn't move. I just watched from the window. They didn't move either. All 3 scarecrows stood in the yard, not far from the porch, still watching. But they're not made of straw. Not anymore. The one in my clothes is standing closest. Its head is tilted now. Just a little, just enough to look straight at me through the window. It hasn't blinked, but I know it sees me. It's nighttime now, and I hear things scratching dot along the walls. Slow, deep, like someone dragging their fingernails. Across the wood, then I hear it laughter, low, quiet, but it's my laugh, not kind of like mine. Exactly like mine. I cover my ears. I walk from room to room, locking the windows again, even though I've locked them 100 times already. Then I hear my voice at the front door. I'm you. I'm ready now. I don't answer. I sit down in the hallway with my knees pulled to my chest. The voice moves to the back door. It's easier if you open it. Then the scratching starts again. Higher this time, right near the attic door. I stare at it. I don't go up. I don't move. I just write. This is my last night. I know it. It's trying to trade places with me. I think it's been trying all along. That first night, when I heard the footsteps. That second night, when it sounded like my mum. That third night, when it used my voice. Each time it got closer. Each time I felt more like it. And now, I don't even feel real anymore. I keep checking the mirror. I look the same, but something feels off. Like I'm not the one inside this body. Like something else is pretending to be me and I'm just watching. I'm tired. I'm not going to fight it anymore. The next morning, a truck rolls into the driveway just after sunrise. It's the uncle. He steps out, slowly, with a cigarette in his hand. He doesn't knock on the door. He doesn't call for anyone. He just walks to the porch and looks at the corn. The field is calm now. Still, then he looks at the yard. 3 scarecrows, same spots as before, except one of them is closer than it used to be, wearing fresh clothes, shoes that are clean, a hoodie that fits just right. The uncle narrows his eyes. Then he notices something else, the eyes wide, open, clear, to new, to human. I took a wrong turn and ended up in a town that wasn't on any map. One wrong turn, one unfamiliar road, and suddenly, a town that no GPS can find, but it knew he was coming. I was driving alone that day, just me, some snacks, and a long, quiet road. I had been on the highway for hours, heading to visit my cousin to states over. It was supposed to be an easy trip. Then my GPS spoke up. Heavy traffic ahead, rerouting. A new path popped up. It looked faster. Just a little turn off the main road. I didn't even think about it. I just followed. The new road was small. No streetlights. Trees on both sides. It didn't look like many people used it. The air felt heavy, like everything had stopped moving. Checked my phone. No bars. That was the first thing that made me feel weird. No signal, not even one bar. The trees got thicker. Fog started to roll in. It wasn't raining, but everything looked kind of grey and blurry. I slowed down a bit. My headlights lit up the fog, making it harder to see. I said out loud, just to hear a voice, "Okay, this is getting creepy." Then I noticed something else. The road didn't look new. It looked old. The lines were faded. Cracks ran across the pavement like spiderwebs. No signs, no houses, no cars. Just the sound of my tires crunching gravel. I started feeling like I had made a mistake. I should have turned back, but there was nowhere to turn around. Just narrow road and trees. Then finally I saw something up ahead. A bend in the road. A small wooden sign on the side. It was half covered in vines. I slowed down to read it. "Welcome to Duskfield." I blinked. "Duskfield," I said. I'd never heard of that place before. It wasn't on the map. It wasn't in the GPS. It just showed up. I kept driving, slowly now. Looking around, the fog started to clear a little, just enough to see a few buildings up ahead. I saw an old gas station, a diner, and a row of little shops. The town looked frozen in time, like it hadn't changed in years. But it wasn't falling apart. It wasn't messy or broken. It was just still. Like a picture, I looked for people. Nothing. No cars. No movement. That's when the weird feeling hit me. Not just nervous. Not just lost. It felt like I had stepped into the wrong place. Like I wasn't supposed to be there. I turned off the car engine. The silence hit me hard. Not even birds. Just quiet. I got out and stood there for a second, trying to decide what to do. I looked down the road. It kept going, but the fog was thick again. I looked back the way I came. That fog was still there too. I was stuck between two walls of fog, in a town I didn't know, with no signal, no people, and a sign that came out of nowhere. I sat back in the car and locked the doors. I said to myself, just take a breath. It's just a small town. Maybe I can ask someone for directions. But deep down, something told me the truth. There was something wrong with Duskfield, and I had already gone too far to turn back. I sat in my car for a minute, just watching the town. Nothing moved, no sound, no people, no animals. It didn't feel right. Still, I told myself it was just a quiet place. Maybe everyone was inside. Maybe I was overthinking it. I opened the door and stepped out. My shoes crunched on the gravel road. That was the only sound. I walked slowly toward the gas station. It looked old, like something from the 1960s. The colors were faded, and the gas pumps were the kind you barely see anymore. but everything was clean. No trash, no dust, no broken glass. Like someone took care of it, but no one was around. "Hello," I called out. My voice echoed. Nothing. Nothing. I walked up to the window. I cupped my hands to look inside. Shelves of snacks, soda bottles, a small fan on the counter. Everything looked normal, just old. But the place felt empty in a strange way. Not just no one's here, more like no one had been here for a long time. I stepped back and looked around. Across the street was a little diner, same feeling, lights off, windows clean. Booths inside were neatly set. A pie sat under glass on the counter. I couldn't tell if it was real. I crossed the street and stood in front of it. The pie didn't have a single fly on it. It didn't even look dry. "Anyone here?" I said. Again, louder. No answer, no footsteps, no doors opening, nothing. There was a hardware store next to the diner. Next to that, a barber shop. Everything looked untouched. I saw a toy store with dolls in the window. They were lined up perfectly. Some were smiling. One had a cracked face. The whole street felt fake, like a movie set. I looked up at the buildings. Some had windows on the second floor. I stared at them for a moment, then shouted, "Hello, I need help. I'm just passing through." Still nothing. I was starting to feel stupid, like I had walked into some weird prank or a dream. I turned around to go back to my car. Then I froze. One of the curtains in a window above the toy store moved. Just a little. I stared at it. It stopped moving. I waited. My heart started beating harder. I looked around. I saw that. I said, not loud, just to say something. "I saw you," but the curtain stayed still. I walked toward the toy store. I didn't go in. I just stood under the window and looked up. Nothing. I wasn't sure what to do. Part of me wanted to get in the car and drive away. But where would I go? The road behind me was full of fog. My GPS didn't work. I had no signal. I needed to know where I was. I needed someone to talk to. I walked back to my car, got in, locked the doors. I sat there for a minute, just breathing. Then I opened my glove box and grabbed a flashlight. If I'm stuck here, I told myself, I might as well look around. I started the car, drove slowly down the street. The tires made soft crunching sounds on the gravel. I passed more buildings. A post office. A small school. A building that looked like a hotel. Every place looked the same old, but not dirty. Clean, but empty. I stopped near the hotel. Something about it made me feel weird. There were no signs of life, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched. I looked in the rearview mirror. Nothing behind me. Then I looked up at the hotel windows. One curtain moved, a different window this time. I didn't stay parked for long. I turned off the engine and stepped out. I gripped the flashlight tight and whispered, "Okay, let's find out what's going on here." But deep down, I wasn't sure I wanted to know. I walked back toward the gas station. Something about it felt different this time. Before, it looked empty. Now, there was someone sitting outside, an old man. He was in a metal chair near the pumps, not moving, just sitting. His eyes were open, but he didn't look at me. He stared straight ahead, like he was watching something I couldn't see. I stopped, a few steps away, and said, "Hey, sir." No answer. I took another step. "I think I'm lost. Can you help me?" Slowly, he turned his head toward me. His skin looked grey, like paper. His eyes were cloudy. He didn't blink. "You're here now," he said. His voice was dry and slow, like he hadn't spoken in years. "What is this place?" I asked. "Where is Duskfield?" He looked past me, down the street, then back at me. "Not many leave." Stared at him. "What do you mean?" He didn't answer. He just reached into his pocket and pulled out a matchstick. He lit a cigarette with shaking hands. Smoke curled up into the air, and for a second, it felt like time had stopped. "I just need directions," I said. "How do I get back to the main road?" My GPS stopped working. The man gave a small laugh. It didn't sound like a happy laugh. It sounded like something else, like he was remembering something bad. He took a drag from the cigarette. "You tried to leave yet?" he asked. I tried to turn around, yeah, but I kept ending up back here. He nodded, slow. "That's how it starts." "What starts?" I asked. He looked at me again, really looked this time. His eyes were clearer now, and that made it worse. "There's no map," he said. "You won't find one." I felt cold all of a sudden. I took a step back. "Is this some kind of joke?" I asked. "Is this one of those fake towns for movies or something?" The man didn't laugh this time. He just looked away and said, "You weren't supposed to come back." "What?" He didn't say it loud, almost like he was talking to himself. "Not twice," he whispered. I felt my chest tighten. "What do you mean, come back? I've never been here before." He didn't answer. He just looked down at the ground. I stood there, waiting for him to say something else. But he didn't. "I think I'll just keep going," I said. He nodded once. "You can try." I walked backward, keeping my eyes on him. He didn't move. He just stared at the road like he was watching something coming toward us. When I got back to my car, I sat inside with the door locked. My hands were shaking. What did he mean? Not twice. Why did he look at me like that? I pulled out my phone again. Still no signal. I tried the GPS. It didn't load anything. Just a spinning circle. I looked back at the man. He was still sitting. There, still smoking. Still staring. I didn't want to talk to him again. Something about him made my stomach twist. I started the engine and backed out slowly. I was going to try another road. Any road. As I drove away, I glanced in the mirror. He was still watching me, and for just 1 second, I thought I saw him smile. After talking to that old man, I just wanted to leave. I didn't care which way. Just needed to get out of Duskfield. I drove back toward the road I came in on. The fog had cleared a little, enough to see the edge of the town. I passed the same diner, the same toy shop with the cracked doll in the window. I saw the gas station in my mirror. The old man was gone. The road out was quiet. I pressed on the gas, hoping maybe this time I could break through whatever was holding me in. For a while, I didn't see anything. Just trees on both sides. No signs, no animals, just the same cracked road. I drove for about 10 minutes. Then I saw something up ahead. A curve in the road. A small wooden sign. I slowed down. "Welcome to Duskfield." I stopped the car. What? I looked around. This couldn't be right. I'd just come from there. I'd been driving away. I turned off the engine and sat still. Maybe I had made a wrong turn somehow. Maybe I missed something. I took a breath, then turned around and drove the other way. I took a left at the first fork, then a right, then another left. I didn't care where it went, as long as it took me out. I drove faster. Trees whipped by. I passed an old white fence. I saw a rusty mailbox with no name on it. Then, up ahead, there it was again. That same curve, that same sign, "Welcome to Duskfield." I hit the brakes. "No," I whispered. "No, no, no." I put the car in reverse. I backed up until the road split, then took the other path. This one looked worse, cracked pavement, half covered in dirt, but I took it anyway. 5 minutes passed, then 10. It was quiet. Then I saw something. I recognized the diner, the toy shop, the gas station. I was back in the town square. I slammed the steering wheel. What is this? I leaned out the window. "Hello, anyone?" No answer. The sky still looked the same grey and dull. No clouds moved. The sun hadn't shifted even a little. I checked the clock in the car. It was the same time as before. I got out and stood in the middle of the road. My hands were shaking. This wasn't just a weird town. Something was wrong here. Really wrong. I turned around in a circle. The buildings were still quiet, like nothing had changed. But I had been driving for over 30 minutes, maybe more. I wasn't just lost. I was stuck. I got back in the car and tried again. I didn't care if I had to drive all night. I wasn't staying here. I tried every turn I could find, every side road. I even drove through a field once, just to see if I could break the loop. Every time, I ended up back in Duskfield, and every time, the town looked more and more strange. One time, the diner lights were on. Another time, the dolls in the toy shop were facing a different way. On my 5th loop, I noticed a name written in the dust on my windshield. Stay. I didn't write it. I turned on the wipers. The word smeared and disappeared. I didn't stop. I just kept driving, faster now. But no matter what I did, no matter how fast I went, or which way I turned, ... I always ended up back where I started, the square, the gas station, that same wooden sign, "Welcome to Duskfield." I shut off the engine and leaned forward, resting my head on the steering wheel. I didn't know what to do anymore. I wasn't just lost in a strange place. I was trapped, and the town wasn't letting me go. I stopped trying to leave. It wasn't working. No matter what I did, the road brought me back to Duskfield, again and again. So I parked near the diner and decided to walk. Maybe I could find something I missed. The street was quiet, just like before, but something felt off. The buildings looked different, not broken, just wrong. The toy shop had fewer dolls in the window than I remembered. The ones that were still there had changed positions. One was now turned around, facing the inside. The diner's sign, which was dark earlier, flickered. Weakly now. The letters buzzed, but only the D lit up. I walked past the hardware store. The door was slightly open. I reached for the handle, but right before I touched it, the door closed by itself, not slammed, just a soft click. I stepped back. Then I heard a sound behind me. I turned. There was someone in the second-story window of the barber shop. A face stopped pale, still, just staring at me. I blinked, and it was gone. I backed away slowly. I wasn't sure if I'd imagined it. But I was sure of one thing now. I wasn't alone. I walked to the other side of the street. There was a movie theater. There, the posters outside looked strange. One showed a movie I had never heard of the day we stayed. Another one was faded, but I could still read the date. It said, October 12th, 1963. That couldn't be right. I checked another poster. Same date, 1963. I whispered, "That's not possible." Then I noticed something else. In the glass door of the theater, I saw a reflection, a person standing behind me. I spun around, no one there. I checked the reflection again, gone. My heart was beating fast now. I didn't want to be outside anymore. I needed to go somewhere, anywhere, with walls and a door I could close. I went back to the diner. This time, the door was unlocked. I stepped inside. It looked the same as before. Neat, clean, like someone had just set it up. The pie was still on. The counter, I walked past the booths. Everything was too perfect. Then a radio on the wall clicked on. Static at first, then a voice. It was low and slow, like it was being played backward. I stepped closer. The static cleared for a second, and I heard it clearly. "We never left." "You won't either." I froze. The voice kept repeating, "We never left. You won't either. We never left. You won't either." I ran to the counter and unplugged the radio. The voice stopped. I stood there, breathing hard. Then I heard a sound from outside footsteps. I crouched down and peeked. Through the window, figures, slowly walking down the street. They weren't talking, just moving. Some stopped and looked into windows. One of them stopped right outside the diner. I ducked back. I didn't want them to see me. I waited. Minutes passed, then I peeked again. They were gone, but now, in the window across the street, someone was watching me. Their face was pressed to the glass, not moving, just staring. Backed away from the window and sat on the floor of the diner. I didn't understand what was happening, but I knew this for sure. Something was in this town, and now it knew I was here. I left the diner after a while. The radio stayed off, and no more voices came through. The street outside was quiet again, but now I knew better. Quiet didn't mean safe here. I walked quickly, trying to stay low, trying not to look at the windows. I didn't want to see more faces. That's when I saw the hotel. It sat at the end of the street. Big, dark windows, a wide porch. The sign above the door said, "Duskfield Inn." Looked like it hadn't had a guest in years, but it wasn't falling apart. Just like everything else in this town, it was clean. Almost too clean. Still, I had nowhere else to go. I grabbed the door handle. It creaked but opened easily. Inside, the lobby was empty. Old couches sat against the walls. A lamp was on in the corner. The light flickered a little but worked. There was no dust on the floor, no cobwebs. Everything looked ready for someone. I walked to the front desk. There was a bell. I pressed it. Ding. No answer. I waited a few seconds, then rang it again. Nothing. "Hello," I called out. "Anyone here?" Silence. Then I noticed something on the desk. A big book, brown cover, thick. A guest book. I opened it. The pages were yellow and a little dusty, but the writing was clear. Names all different, first and last names, towns and dates. I flipped through slowly. Some pages were empty. Some had just one name. Others had 3 or 4. Then I stopped. Something was wrong. The names were different, but the handwriting was the same. Every time, same slanted letters, same loops, same way of writing the number 4. Dozens of names, but one hand writing them all. I kept flipping. Then I saw it, my name, written, clearly, my full name. I stared at it. The hair on my arms stood up. I didn't write it. I had never been here before. Next to my name was a date. Tomorrow, not today. Tomorrow. I closed the book fast. I looked around the lobby. No one, nothing. I whispered, "Who did that?" I opened the book again. The name was still there. Mine, same handwriting, same date. I backed away from the desk. I was shaking now. How did they know my name? How did they know I'd be here tomorrow? What was going to happen tomorrow? Then I noticed something else under the desk. A small key rack. Only one key was hanging there. Room 217. I stared at it. Don't know why, but I felt like it was waiting for me. Like someone had already picked my room. I didn't touch the key. I turned and walked out fast. I didn't run, but I wanted to. Outside, the sky still hadn't changed. The same grey colour. The sun in the same spot. I looked up at the hotel windows. One curtain moved. I didn't wait. I just walked away. The back streets, keeping my head down. But even as I left, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The book, the handwriting, my name, and that date tomorrow. I didn't want to go back to the hotel, but something kept pulling me toward it. That book, my name, the date. I needed answers, so I waited until the street was quiet again. Then I went back. The door was still unlocked. The lobby was still empty. Same lamp, same desk, same silence. This time, I didn't ring the bell. I walked straight, past the counter and down the hallway. The air felt heavier, like the building didn't want me there. Room numbers were painted on small wooden signs. 209, 213, 215. Then I saw it. Room 217. The only key I'd seen earlier. The one waiting on the hook. I tried the handle. It opened, no key, no lock. Just open. I stepped inside. The room looked normal. A bed, a nightstand, a chair by the window. Everything was clean, just like the rest of town. Too clean. It didn't look used. But it didn't feel empty either. I stood in the doorway for a moment. Then I saw something on the small table beside the bed. A box, black, thin, no label. I opened. It inside were photos, a stack of them, old ones, faded colors, some black and white. The first few were of the town. The diner, the gas station, the toy shop, nothing strange. At first, then I flipped to the next one. It was a photo of me. I was standing by my car. The door was open. I was looking at the GPS. I frowned. Who took this? I flipped to the next photo. It was me again, walking down the street, looking up at the buildings. Same clothes, same bag, same day. I looked closer. The angle was high, like it was taken from a window. I checked the next one, me again, sleeping in the driver's seat of my car. My eyes were closed, my mouth slightly open. That one made my stomach twist. Someone had been close. Watching me, I kept flipping through them. More photos. All of me looking around, talking to the old man. Standing in the diner, staring at the movie posters, all taken from different spots. Behind windows, around corners, hidden places. I wasn't alone. Someone or something had been following me the whole time. I reached the last photo in the stack. It stopped me cold. It was me again, but this time I was standing in this hotel room, right by the window, looking out. Same clothes, same posture, same bag slung over my shoulder. But I had never stood there before. Not until now. I looked at the window, then back at the photo. It was the same curtain, same light, same moment. I turned around fast, like someone might be behind me. No one was there. I looked out the window, half expecting to see a camera or a face. Nothing. I went back to the table and looked through the photos again. They were real. I wasn't dreaming. Someone had taken them. Someone had planned all of this. And whoever they were, they knew everything I'd done. Even the things I hadn't done yet. I didn't mean to stay in the hotel after finding those photos. I wanted to leave, I really did. But I must have fallen asleep. When I woke up, it was darker outside. Not pitch black, just dim, like the sky had stopped working. I looked at the clock on the nightstand. It was the same time as before. I grabbed my bag and opened the door to the hallway. It was quiet, too quiet. I couldn't even hear the floor creak under my feet. I walked back down to the lobby. No one there. Still the same lamp, still flickering. I stepped outside. That's when I saw them, people. They were in the street, moving slowly. Dozens of them, all walking in different directions. None of them spoke. They weren't running or yelling, just walking like they were half asleep. Their clothes looked old, out of place. Torn coats, worn out shoes. Some looked normal, others didn't. Their eyes were dark, not just from far away. I mean dark, like the hole I was black. I ducked behind a car and watched. They came out from the buildings, from the diner, from the toy shop, even the gas station. They didn't rush, they just kept coming. I heard one of them mumbling. I couldn't understand the words. It sounded like a song with no tune. I stayed low and tried not to move. One of them turned their head toward me. I held my breath, but they kept walking. Then, right behind me, I heard footsteps. Soft, careful. I froze. A voice whispered right in my ear. "You were always one of us. You just forgot." I jumped and spun around. No one was there. Nothing. But I swear, I felt breath on my neck. I backed away, still watching the people in the street. One of them stopped in front of the hotel. He stared right at me. His skin was pale, his mouth slightly open. His lips didn't move, but I heard words in my head. "Your room is ready." I turned and ran back inside. The door slammed behind me on its own. I locked it, then moved away from the windows. I stood in the middle of the lobby, shaking. I didn't know what was happening anymore. These weren't normal people. They weren't even alive, but they weren't dead either. There was something in between, and I was part of it now. That's what the voice meant. You were always one of us. No, I wasn't. I tried to leave again, but every time I looked outside, there were more of them. They didn't chase me. They didn't try to break in. They just waited, like they knew I'd come out eventually. I went back to room 217. I locked the door. I sat on the bed and stared at the wall. The pictures, the names, the loop, all of it made sense now. This wasn't just a town I found by accident. This place knew me, and maybe it had always known me. I couldn't sleep, not with those people outside, not after hearing that voice, so I left the hotel. I didn't care if it was smart or not. I needed answers. I walked fast and quiet, keeping to the shadows. The streets were still full of those people. They didn't notice me, not really. They just moved like they were stuck in some kind of loop. I stayed low and turned down a side alley. That's when I saw the old building at the edge of town. A big one, brick walls. A broken flagpole out front. A metal plate by the door, read, Duskfield Town Hall. The door was locked. I picked up a rock and smashed the small side window. I crawled through. Inside, it smelled like dust and old paper. Rows of chairs. A long hallway with closed doors. Most rooms were empty. Just boxes, broken chairs, and faded posters. But at the very end of the hall, one door was different. It had a chain across it, like someone really didn't want it opened. I should have walked away, but I didn't. I found a rusted crowbar in a supply closet, took a few hard pulls, but the chain snapped. I pushed the door open. The room was cold. Inside were mirrors, dozens of them, tall, thin, old. Some were cracked. Some were clean. They stood in a circle, back to back, covering every wall. At first, I just saw myself. My real reflection. Same face, same clothes. But then I stepped closer. The mirror on the left showed me, but I looked older. My skin was pale. My eyes were tired. In the next mirror, I looked beaten, bruised. My mouth was bleeding. I was breathing heavy. In another, I was just a kid, maybe 10. Crying, I checked the mirror beside that one. My face was swollen, my eyes black. I looked angry, then scared, then lost. Each mirror showed something different. Some versions of me looked confused. Others looked like they had given up. One of them pounded on the glass like it wanted to get out. I stepped back. This wasn't normal. These weren't just reflections. These were versions of me. Some I didn't recognize. Some I didn't want to. Then I reached the last mirror. This one was clean, clear, no cracks. I looked into it. It showed me. Same clothes, same face, same room. But when I lifted my hand, it didn't move. It just stood there, staring at me then, slowly. It smiled. I didn't. I froze. The thing in the mirror was still smiling. Wide, too wide. Then its hand came up on its own and pressed against the glass. I backed away. Its eyes followed me. Its head tilted. Still smiling, I turned to leave. But every mirror now showed the same thing. That version of me. The smiling one. All of them. Dozens of smiling Mez. Watching, I ran to the door. The moment I stepped out of the room, I slammed it shut and shoved a broken chair under the knob. I stood there, breathing fast, trying not to throw up. What did I just see? Were those possible futures, memories, or something worse? Whatever they were, one of them didn't want to stay behind, and I think it knows how to get out. I found this notebook in the hotel desk drawer. I don't know why I'm writing this down. Maybe it's something I've done before. Maybe I'm supposed to. I don't remember. The town is quiet now. The people, the ones that came out at night, gone again, or hiding. I don't know where they go, but I can still feel them watching. I walked through Duskfield this morning. If it is morning, the sky still looks the same. That pale grey. The sun hasn't moved. Nothing ever changes. I passed the diner. Same pie on the counter. The toy shop. The dolls haven't moved since yesterday. At least, I don't think they have. Then I saw my car, still parked where I left it. Same spot. No dents, no broken windows, nothing touched. I ran up to it and tried the door. It opened. I got in, sat behind the wheel. I reached for the keys. They weren't there, not in the seat, not in the glove box, not under the mat. I searched everywhere, they were gone. But the weird part is, I don't remember taking them out. I don't even remember turning off the engine. I just left it. That's when I looked in the rearview mirror. For just a second, I saw something sitting in the back seat. It looked like me, same hair, same face, but the eyes were dark. I turned around fast. Nothing there. The seat was empty, but I'm not sure it was a trick. I got out of the car and closed the door. That's when it hit me. The loop, the people, the photos, the mirror, the hotel ledger, my name with tomorrow's date. But today is tomorrow, and tomorrow might have been yesterday. I don't know how long I've been here. Hours, days, or longer. Maybe I've done this all before. Maybe this town doesn't trap you once. Maybe it keeps you, wipes your memory, then starts again. I walked back to the hotel. The lobby looks the same. Same lamp, same bell. Room 217 still waits. The key is gone now. Maybe I took it. Maybe I never left. Maybe I was always meant to be here, back in the room. I checked the mirror again. Just my reflection. This time I sat on the bed. The notebook was in the drawer, like it was waiting for me. Maybe I've written in it before. Maybe after this, I'll forget again, and tomorrow I'll find it, just like I did today. And I'll write the same thing again and again and again. Maybe that's what Duskfield is. Not a place, a loop, a memory stuck on repeat. You don't leave, you don't escape. You just keep walking the same roads, asking the same questions, looking into the same windows, until you forget you ever came. Or maybe you didn't come here at all. Maybe you were always here. That's what the voice whispered. That's what the mirror showed. That's what the photos prove. So I'm writing this now. For myself, for the next version of me. The one who wakes up tomorrow and doesn't remember any of this. Maybe you'll read this and think it's just a story. But it's not. It's what's waiting for you. Because if you're reading this, you're already here. A man knocked on my door. He looked just like me. It wasn't just a stranger at the door. It was him, same face, same voice, but not the same intentions. I live alone. It's a small house in a quiet neighborhood. Nothing ever really happens here. That night, I went to bed around midnight. Everything was normal. Doors locked, lights off, phone charging. Sometime later, I woke up. I didn't know why at first. I just opened my eyes and felt strange. The room was dark. My clock said 2:08 a.m. Then I heard it. Knock knock, dot soft, 2. Slow taps at my front door. I sat up fast. Who knocks at 2 a.m.? I didn't move for a few seconds. I just listened. Silence, then again knock knock. Not loud, not angry, just slow and calm. I got out of bed and walked to the door as quietly as I could. I didn't turn on any lights. I looked through the peephole. At first, I thought the lens was dirty. The figure outside looked strange. I blinked and looked again. My stomach dropped. It was me, someone who looked exactly like me. Same face, same height, same clothes I was wearing when I went to bed. He just stood there, still, not moving, not knocking anymore. Just staring. I didn't breathe. I didn't even blink. I watched myself standing on the porch. He wasn't smiling. He didn't look angry. Just blank, like he was waiting. I stepped back from the door. My hands were shaking. I whispered, "What the hell?" I checked the windows. All locked, curtains drawn. I wanted to believe it was some kind of joke, a prank, maybe someone wearing a mask, but no one knew me well enough to pull that off. And it wasn't Halloween. I looked through the peephole again. He was still there, same spot, same blank face. His eyes looked straight at me, like he could see through the door. Then he tilted his head, just a little, like he was trying to listen. Backed away again. My heart was pounding. I didn't know what to do. Call the police. What would I even say? Hi, there's a guy at my door who looks like me. I stayed quiet. 5 more minutes passed. Maybe more. No sound. I finally got the courage to check again. Gone. The porch was empty. No footsteps. No sign anyone had been there just the night. I stood there for a long time, trying to calm down. Eventually, I went back to bed, but I didn't sleep. I kept staring at my bedroom door, half expecting to hear that knock again, or worse, to see myself walk in. I didn't sleep after that. I just lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening, thinking. I kept telling myself I was tired, that maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was a weird dream, a sleepwalking episode, something like that, but I couldn't stop shaking. Eventually, the sky started to lighten. Morning came. I waited until the sun was fully up before I got out of bed. I went straight to the front door. I didn't open it yet. I looked through the peephole again, even though I already knew he'd be gone, and he was. The porch was empty, just like before. Still, I unlocked the door and stepped outside. Everything looked normal until I looked down. Footprints, muddy ones, bare feet right there on the welcome mat. They led up to the door, but there were no prints walking away, just 2 feet, standing still, right where I had seen him. I stood there, staring at them. I wasn't dreaming. I wasn't crazy. Someone had been here. Someone who looked like me. I backed into the house and locked the door again. My hands were shaking. I turned on the TV just for background noise. I didn't even care what was on. I just didn't want silence. Then, I remembered the security camera. I had a doorbell cam. It records everything out front. It should have caught whoever was there. I grabbed my phone and opened the app. The feed was working. The live view showed my porch just fine. But when I opened the video history from last night, nothing, no recordings between 1:40 a.m. and 3:15 a.m., just a gap. I checked my settings. Everything was right. It should have recorded, but it didn't. Or maybe someone deleted it. That thought hit hard. I set the phone down and walked to the bathroom. I needed to splash cold water on my face. I felt sick. The bathroom light flickered when I turned it on. That's when I saw it, my toothbrush. It was wet. The bristles were pushed down like it had been used. I hadn't brushed my teeth yet, and I live alone. I'd picked it up slowly, sniffed it toothpaste. Someone had used it. My chest got tight. I looked around the bathroom like I might find someone still hiding. Then I looked at the mirror, just me. But I stared at my reflection for a long time. I leaned closer. I don't know how to explain it, but something felt off, like the eyes looking back at me weren't mine. They blinked when I blinked, moved when I moved, but something was wrong. The face looked right, but it didn't feel like me. I backed away. I sat down on the edge of the tub and tried to breathe. Who was that last night? Why did he look just like me? And how did he get so close? I walked around the house, checked the locks, checked under the bed, inside closets. Nothing. Everything was locked, but I couldn't shake the feeling like I wasn't alone, like someone had been in here, maybe still was. The next few days were strange. Little things started happening around the house, things I couldn't explain at first. I thought I was just distracted, tired. Maybe I was just being paranoid after what happened. But then it got worse. One morning, I came downstairs and found the kitchen cabinet wide open. The one above the sink. I always keep it closed. I don't even use it much. I figured maybe I left it open by accident. But the next day, it was the fridge. I woke up, walked into the kitchen, and the fridge door was cracked open. Not wide, just a little. Like someone opened it and forgot to shut it all the way. I knew I didn't leave it like that. I remember closing it the night before. I always check. Still, I tried to stay calm. Told myself maybe I was just stressed out. Seeing things. Then one night, I was lying in bed, almost asleep, when the TV downstairs turned on loud. It was just static. That white noise sound. I sat up fast. I didn't move for a second, just listened. It stayed on. No voices, just that harsh static sound. I grabbed my phone and opened the camera app so I wouldn't walk around in the dark. I went downstairs slowly, holding the phone out in front of me like a flashlight. The TV was on, blasting static. The remote was across the room on the couch. I turned the TV off. The screen went black. I didn't hear or see anything else. So I checked all the doors and windows again, all locked. I went back to bed, but I didn't sleep. The next night was worse. I was brushing my teeth when I heard something upstairs. Footsteps, soft, slow. I froze and turned off the sink. They kept going, across the floor, right above me. But I live alone. I grabbed the old baseball bat I keep under my bed. My hands were shaking. I walked up the stairs as quiet as I could. My heart was pounding. I checked the guest room first. Nothing. then the bathroom, empty. I stood in the hallway and looked around. That's when I caught it. In the hallway, mirror just for a second. My reflection was smiling, but I wasn't. I was staring straight at it, my mouth closed, my face blank. But the reflection was smiling, wide, like it thought. Something was funny. Then it was gone. My reflection went back to normal, just me. Same face, no smile. I stepped back. My legs felt weak. I reached out and touched the mirror. Cold glass. But I swear, something felt off. Like the glass wasn't a mirror at all, but a window. And something on the other side had just pulled away. I searched the rest of the house, room by room, closet by closet. Nothing. I didn't find anyone. But the feeling didn't go away. I wasn't just being watched. Someone was here, moving things, turning things on, walking around like it was their house. Now, but it's my house at least. I think it is. I couldn't take it anymore. The footprints, the TV, the mirror, the face that looked like mine. I needed proof, something real. So I went out and bought 2 small security cameras, one for the hallway outside my bedroom and one for the living room downstairs. Motion activated. They would send clips straight to my phone. That night, I set them up, one on a shelf in the hallway, facing my bedroom door. The other on top of the bookshelf downstairs, pointing at the couch and front door. I checked them both before bed. Lights were blinking. They were on. Then I locked every door, every window, and tried to sleep. I didn't sleep well. I kept waking up, checking the time. I thought I heard movement once, but I was too scared to go look. In the morning, I got out of bed and grabbed my phone right away. The app showed one motion alert, hallway camera, recorded at 3:14 a.m. I tapped on the video. It started with nothing. The hallway, then, after a few seconds, someone walked into the frame. It was me, same pajamas, same hair, same tired face. I was standing in the hallway, just staring at the camera, not moving, not blinking. I watched as I stood there for almost 30 seconds. Not a sound, not a twitch. Then the version of me on camera turned away and walked out of frame. That was it. The video ended. I sat there, frozen, because at 3:14 a.m. I was asleep. In my bed, I never left my room. And yet, there I was, on the screen, just standing there, watching. I checked the living room camera next. There was no footage at all, nothing. From the entire night, I went back to the hallway clip, but it was gone, just like that. I stared at the screen. No recordings found. The file had been deleted. Not by me. I didn't even touch anything. I closed the app and opened it again. Nothing. The clip was gone, like it never existed. I checked my phone's storage. No luck. No hidden file. Number. Backup. I knew what I saw. That was me in the hallway, or something that looked exactly like me, and now it had covered its tracks. I walked into the hallway where the camera had been facing. Same spot, same angle. I stood there and tried to imagine it just standing, watching, knowing it was being recorded. Why? What did it want? And how did it delete the video? I pulled the hallway camera off the shelf and checked the memory card inside. It had only one file on it from the afternoon before. Everything from the night was gone, like someone had wiped it clean, but I never heard a thing. I stood there for a long time, holding that little camera, feeling like an idiot. Like the thing that looked like me was smarter than me. Like it was messing with me. Not just showing up, but watching me. Erasing evidence. Walking around like it belonged here more than I did. I stared into the hallway mirror again later that night, just to check. And for a second, I saw the same blank stare from the video. On my own face, I started keeping my phone next to me at night, right on the pillow. Screen up, ringer on, just in case something happened again. A few nights after the camera clip disappeared, I finally drifted off sometime after 2 a.m. Then the phone rang, loud and sudden. I jumped up. The screen was glowing. Unknown number, no name, no location, just the words, unknown caller. I stared at it for a second. My heart was racing. Then I answered. I didn't say anything at first, just listened. For a few seconds, I only heard breathing. Not heavy, just slow, soft breaths. Close to the mic. Then a voice, my voice it whispered, low and quiet. Let me in. Then the line went dead. I sat there, frozen, still holding the phone to my ear. Let me in. It was me. It sounded just like me. Same voice, same way of speaking. I checked the call log. Nothing, no call listed, no missed call, no history at all. It was like the phone never rang, but it did. I heard it. I felt it buzz in my hand, and I heard the voice. I stood up and looked around the room. Nothing. I turned on every light. I walked through the whole house with a knife in one hand and the phone in the other. Every door was still locked. No one was inside. I stared out the PEEPHOL. Nobody on the porch. Still, I didn't go back to sleep. I sat on the couch until sunrise, holding my phone, waiting for it to ring again. It didn, single quotes. Later that morning, I drove to a nearby phone store. I asked the guy behind the counter if it's possible to get a call that doesn't show up in your log. He looked confused. Not really, he said, unless it's a spoofed number, but even then, it should still show up. I showed him my call. History, are you sure you didn't imagine it? He asked. I didn't answer because I was starting to wonder the same thing. I went back home and tried to forget about it, but that night, as I was brushing my teeth, I looked up at the mirror and I whispered out loud, "Let me in," just to see what it sounded like. It was exactly the same tone, same whisper, same words. I dropped the toothbrush and stepped back. It was my voice, but I hadn't said it first. Someone else did, someone using my voice. There's an apartment, building across the street from me, old place, kind of run down. I don't really know who lives there. I've never seen much movement, especially on the top floor. There's one window directly across from mine, for as long as I can remember. The curtains were always shut. All day, all night, until one night, they weren't. I was in my bedroom, just scrolling on my phone. Then I looked up and noticed the curtains across the street were open. That window had never been open before. Not once. I stood up and moved closer to my own window, and that's when I saw him. Him, the same man, the one who looked like me, standing. Still in the window, holding binoculars, he was watching me. I froze. It was me. Same hair, same shirt, same face. He raised the binoculars and stared straight at me, like he knew I was watching too. I backed away from the window fast. My heart was racing. I peeked out again. He was still there. Still watching then, slowly. He reached up and closed the curtains. I grabbed my phone and dialed 911. A woman answered. "What's your emergency?" There's someone in the apartment across from me, I said. He's been staring at me. Through the window, he looks like me. There was a pause. Are you in danger, sir? I don't know. I just... Please, can you send someone to check the top floor? It's the window across from mine. 3rd floor. Curtains just closed. All right, she said calmly. An officer is on the way. Please stay inside and don't open the door for anyone. I nodded, even though she couldn't see me. I waited by the window. I didn't see the curtains move again. 10 minutes later, a police car pulled up. I watched as 2 officers walked to the building across the street. They knocked. Someone let them in. I stared at the 3rd floor window. Nothing. The curtains stayed shut. Another few minutes passed, and the officers came. Back out. One of them walked across the street to my place. I opened the door before he could knock. Did you see him? I asked. He looked confused. We checked every apartment on the 3rd floor, he said. The one across from you is completely empty. No furniture, no power. Hasn't been rented. In months, my mouth went dry. No one's in there, I asked. He shook his head. We double-checked. Door was locked from the inside. No footprints. Dust everywhere. Looks like no one stepped in there for a long time. I didn't know what to say. Are you sure you saw someone? The officer asked. Yes, I said quickly. He was, standing in the window, watching me. He nodded slowly, like he didn't really believe me. Let us know if anything else happens, he said, then walked back to the car. I stood there, staring at the window across the street. Still shut, still, quiet, but I knew what I saw. He was there, watching me through my own face, and now, he knows I saw him. After the apartment thing, I stopped sleeping much. I stayed up late. I barely left the house. I was scared to look out the window, scared to check the mirrors, but I had to live. I still had to eat, get groceries, pay bills, so... A few days later, I forced myself out. I went to the grocery store near my place. Middle of the afternoon, bright outside, people everywhere. Nothing scary could happen in a place like that, right? I walked through the frozen foods aisle, just trying to get what I needed and leave fast. Then I looked up at the end of the aisle. There was a man pushing a cart. He had my face. He didn't look surprised to see me. He didn't run or try to hide. He just stared right at me. Same eyes. Same clothes I wore 2 nights ago. Same small scar near my jaw that I got as a kid. I froze. He didn't move either then. Slowly, he turned his cart down another aisle and walked away. I dropped what I was holding and followed. I ran down the aisle, but when I turned the corner, he was gone. I looked everywhere. Each row, the exits, the parking lot, nothing. I even asked a worker, "Did you see a guy come through here? About my height, looks like me." The guy gave me a weird look. No. I left the store without buying anything. I couldn't stop shaking the whole way home. That night, I stayed up watching the windows again. I started wondering, was I going crazy? Was I seeing things that weren't there? But the next day, I saw him again, this time near my job. I work in a small office building downtown. There's a coffee shop across the street. I go there almost every morning. I was standing in line, waiting to order, when I looked out the front window, and there he was, standing on the sidewalk across the street, just standing, not moving, looking right at me. I stepped outside fast. I didn't care what people thought. I crossed the street straight toward him, but as I got close, a group of people passed between us. Only for a second, and when they moved, he was gone, just like that. I looked up and down the street. Nothing, no way he ran off that fast. I just stood there, breathing hard. A woman walked past me and gave me a strange look. I must have looked crazy, but I knew what I saw. And then, one more time. That night, I was walking back from the gas station near my house, just grabbing snacks, trying to feel normal. As I turned the corner onto my street, someone walked past me. We brushed shoulders. It was me. He didn't stop. He didn't say anything. He just looked me in the eye, smirked a little, and kept walking. I turned around and shouted, "Hey," but he was gone. The sidewalk was empty, like he had never been there at all. But I felt it. His shoulder brushed mine. His eyes looked right into mine, and he smiled. He's not hiding anymore. He wants me to see him. I'd never used the basement in my house. The door had been locked since the day I moved in. The landlord said it was just storage. I never thought about it much, until the scratching started. It was late at night. I was in the kitchen when I heard its soft, slow scratching coming from behind the basement door. At first, I thought maybe something had gotten in, a rat or a raccoon, but it didn't sound like an animal. It sounded careful, like fingernails. I stood in front of the door, listening. Scratch, scratch. Then it stopped. I backed away. The next night, it happened again. Same time, same sound. This time, I pressed my ear to the door. I didn't hear scratching now. I'd heard breathing close. Right behind the door, I stepped back fast and grabbed a flashlight. I had to see what was down there. It took me a while to find the key. It was buried in a kitchen drawer, still on the ring the landlord gave me. My hands were shaking as I unlocked the door. It opened with a loud creak. A narrow staircase led down into pitch black. I clicked on the flashlight. The light hit dust, cobwebs, and old stone walls. I slowly stepped down, one stair at a time. The air smelled stale, like the room hadn't been opened in years. The basement was almost empty. No shelves, no boxes, no furniture. Just one thing. A tall mirror standing against the far wall, covered in dust. No frame, just glass. I walked closer. It didn't reflect much at first. The glass was too dirty. I reached out and wiped it with my sleeve. And there I was, my reflection, at least. I thought it was. Then it moved. Not a delayed reflection, not a lag. It moved before I did. I froze. My hand was still down by my side, but in the mirror, my double raised his hand and waved, slowly, like he was saying hi. My heart started pounding. I stepped back, so did he. Then I raised my hand and this time, he followed. Same movements, same speed. Now he was copying me. But that first wave, it wasn't a copy. He started it. I leaned in close, so did he. I whispered, "Who are you?" His mouth moved, but I didn't hear anything. Then he smiled. That same small smile I'd seen before. My own smile, but wrong, too cold, too calm. I turned off the flashlight and ran up the stairs, slamming the basement door shut behind me. I locked it. Deadbolt, chain, everything. Then I sat on the floor, staring at the door. There's nothing down there except that mirror, and something inside it that looks just like me. But I'm not sure it's just watching anymore. It moved first. It scratched at the door, and now it knows I know. I woke up in the middle of the night, but not like before. This time, I didn't hear anything. I didn't feel scared. I just felt off, like my body was heavy, like my chest was full of sand. I sat up slowly. That's when I noticed the hallway light was on. I never leave it on. I got out of bed and walked toward the stairs. Halfway down, I saw it. The front door was wide open, not cracked, not unlocked, wide open. The cold air was coming in. The porch light was on. The street was empty. I didn't hear anything. No cars, no footsteps, no wind, just stillness. I stood at the bottom of the stairs, staring at the door. Then I turned and looked toward the living room. He was sitting on my couch. Him, me. Same face, same eyes, same body, same pajamas I was wearing. He was calm, relaxed, sitting with one arm stretched across the back of the couch, like he lived there, like it was his house. He smiled at me, not big, not evil, just soft, like he'd been waiting. My mouth went dry. I tried to speak but couldn't. I took one slow step forward. He didn't move. I took another. Then he spoke. His voice was my voice, but deeper, like it was coming from inside my head. You let me in. I blinked. What? I said, barely loud enough to hear myself. He just stared. You let me in. I shook my head. No, I didn't. But my hand, my real hand, it started to tingle. I looked down. It was fading, like fog, like smoke. My skin was see-through. I could barely see my fingers. I stepped back in panic. My knees felt weak. My chest was tight. What's happening? I whispered. He stood up slowly, still, smiling, still calm. I waited, he said. You opened the door. I didn't, I said. I locked it. I always lock it. You looked at me, he said. You answered the phone. You went down to the mirror. You said it. Said what? Let me in. I couldn't speak. My throat felt full, like I was swallowing fog. He walked toward me. I couldn't move. My legs wouldn't work. He stood right in front of me, inches away. I stared into his face. It was perfect. It was me, but not me. Something colder, something older. He leaned close to my ear and whispered, "It's mine now." Then everything went black. If you're hearing this, I don't know if it means I'm still me, or if he's using my voice now. I've been writing everything down, trying to make sense of it, trying to remember who I was before this started. But things are off. Different people talk to me like I'm someone else. The lady at the grocery store called me Aaron. That's not my name. Never has been. My boss at work didn't recognize me last week. He asked if I was the new guy. I've worked there 3 years. And my neighbor Mr. Helahy smiled at me yesterday and said, "Nice to finally meet you." We've had small talk every week for months. Or at least, I thought we did. I don't correct them anymore. I just nod, pretend I'm fine, but I'm not, because the house feels wrong too. Like I know where everything is, but it doesn't feel like mine. The wallpaper looks a little different. The hallway feels longer at night. The couch is one I don't remember buying. Sometimes I walk into a room and freeze because I expect to see something that's not there. A photo, a chair, a smell. It's like I'm living inside a copy of my life. And then there's the mirror. I don't like looking into it now. The reflection moves when I move. It blinks when I blink. It copies everything I do. But sometimes, not always, it's just a little off. A blink too slow. A smile that's not quite mine. Once, I stared at myself for almost an hour, just to see if he would slip. He didn't, but I could feel him in there, waiting, watching. Sometimes I wake up and not sure if I'm the one in the mirror or if I'm the one being watched from the other side. I've tried to remember that night, the night the door was open, the night he sat on the couch. I remember standing there. I remember his voice. You let me in, but after that, it's blank. Woke up the next morning in bed. My clothes were folded on the chair. My phone was on the charger. The front door was locked, like nothing ever happened. Like it was just a dream, but it wasn't. Because ever since that night, I've felt like a copy of myself. Like I'm wearing my own skin, but someone else is underneath. I walk, I talk, I eat, but sometimes I catch myself thinking things that don't feel like my thoughts. Dark things, quiet things. Sometimes I catch myself smiling when I shouldn't be, or laughing when nothing is funny. And sometimes late at night I talk to my reflection. I ask, are you still in there? And it smiles, like it knows something I don't. Today, I looked in the mirror and noticed something new. There's a freckle on my neck. I've never had that before, not once. I keep touching it over and over, just to see if it'll rub off. It doesn't so. Now I'm writing all this down, just in case. If I forget who I am, if I stop sounding like myself, if I look at the mirror and see someone else looking back, then maybe this will help me remember. Or maybe it's already too late. Maybe he didn't just come into my house. Maybe he came into me. So, I'll end this with one question. Something I ask myself every day now. Am I still me, or did he win? I answered a call from an unknown number. It was me, begging for help. It was his voice on the line, panicked, pleading. But the number was unlisted, and he hadn't spoken those words yet. It was about 2 in the morning when my phone rang. I was just about to fall asleep, and the sudden noise made me jump. I grabbed the phone quickly. The caller ID said, "Unknown number." I wasn't expecting anyone. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity won. I pressed the green button. At first, there was only heavy breathing. Long, slow, wet breaths. It didn't sound like a person who was just out of breath. It sounded scared. Then I heard a voice. My voice, it was whispering, barely loud enough to hear. "Please, help me. He's coming." I froze. My heart started pounding. I wanted to say something, to ask who was calling, but the line went dead. I looked at my phone screen. The call had ended. I checked the call log. There was nothing, no record of the call, no missed calls, nothing. From unknown number. I sat there, holding the phone, confused. Who had called me? Why did it sound like me? I tried to shake it off. Maybe it was a prank call, some bad joke. Maybe my mind was playing tricks on me. But the voice, it wasn't just any voice. It was my voice, and it was scared. The next morning, I told a friend about it. "Maybe someone hacked your phone," she said. "Or maybe you were dreaming," I added, trying to sound confident. But deep down, I knew. It wasn't a dream. That night, I went to bed early. I told myself not to answer if the phone rang again. Around midnight, my phone rang again, from unknown number. I looked at it. My hands were shaking. I stared at the screen for a long time, before finally pressing answer. The breathing was there again. Long, heavy breaths. Then my voice whispered again, but louder this time. "Don't answer the door." The line went silent. I waited, expecting to hear something else, but nothing came. I hung up and looked at the phone log again. Nothing, no call recorded. I sat on my bed, staring at the phone. I felt cold, not the kind of cold that comes from the window, being open, but the kind that creeps into your bones the next day. I tried to figure out what was happening. I searched online for similar stories, people talking about weird calls, voices that sound like themselves. No record of the calls. Most said it was a glitch or a trick, but some said it was a warning, a message from someone in trouble, someone trapped, someone needing help. I kept thinking about that voice. My voice begging for help. "Please, help me. He's coming." Who was he? Why was I afraid? And why was the call never recorded? That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept hearing strange noises in the house. My phone stayed silent. I was too scared to answer it if it rang again. But I knew deep down it wouldn't stop. Because whatever or whoever was calling, it was still out there, waiting. After that first call, I couldn't stop thinking about the voice. It was definitely my voice. Not just a sound like, but me. Whispering, scared, begging for help. I kept replaying it in my mind. Please, help me, he's coming. Those words haunted me. I asked myself over and over, was it real? Was it a prank? Was I dreaming? I wanted to believe it was nothing. Maybe someone hacked my phone and used a recording. Or maybe I'd been half asleep when I answered. But no matter how much I tried to push it away, I couldn't. I kept checking my phone for calls, for any sign the same thing would happen again. But nothing came. I even called my phone from another number just to see if it worked fine. It did. That night, I tried to sleep early. I told myself if the phone rang again, I wouldn't answer. But right at midnight, it rang. Unknown number again. My heart jumped. I stared at the screen, frozen. After a long moment, I pressed answer. The breathing was louder this time, faster. Then my voice came again, clearer, more desperate. Don't answer the door. Then silence. No heavy breathing, no whispering, just dead silence. I held the phone to my ear, waiting for more. Nothing. I hung up. I stared at the screen again. No call, record. Nothing showed up in my logs. I couldn't believe it. I felt cold all over. I kept thinking about the words. Don't answer the door. What door? Who was coming? Why did the voice sound so scared? I tried to laugh it off. I told myself maybe someone was messing with me. A prank, a joke. I told my friends about it. Maybe it's a glitch, one said. Maybe it's just your mind playing tricks, said another. But I wasn't so sure, because that voice wasn't just some random sound. It was my voice, and it was begging me for help. After the call, I couldn't sleep. I kept looking at the front door, half expecting someone to knock. I checked all the locks twice. I even pushed a chair against the door, but nothing happened still. I felt watched. I started noticing little things. A shadow in the hallway, a soft knock at the window. The feeling that something was just outside, waiting. I tried to ignore it. I didn't want to believe it, but I couldn't. The calls kept coming, every night, sometimes more than once. Always from an unknown number. Always with my voice, always with warnings. Don't answer the door. Stay away, please hurry. I began to dread my phone. I didn't want to hear my own voice. I didn't want to hear that fear. I wondered if I was losing my mind. Maybe I was imagining it all. But I knew the truth. Something was wrong. Something was coming, and I didn't know how to stop it. After the calls started, I began noticing something else at first. I thought it was just my imagination, but every day I saw someone watching me from across the street, just standing there, not moving, no phone, no car, no sign of life, just standing and staring at first. I tried to ignore it. I told myself it was some stranger, someone who didn't realize I could see them. But then, one night, I caught a clear look. The street was empty, except for me and that figure. I stepped closer. The streetlight flickered, and I saw his face. It was me. Same face, same clothes, same tired eyes. I froze. He didn't move. He just stared back, like he was waiting. My heart started racing. I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but I couldn't. I wanted to ask him, "Who are you?" But my mouth was dried up then, without a word. He turned and walked away, slowly, like he had all the time in the world. I watched him disappear down the block. I tried to follow, but when I reached the corner, he was gone, like he never existed. That night, I sat in my living room, staring out the window. The phone rang. I jumped. I grabbed it. "Please," the voice whispered. But this time, it was crying. "I'm scared. He's taking my place." Then the line went dead. I held the phone tight. I didn't know what to think. Was it me on the other side? Was that figure the real me? Was I the one disappearing, the one losing control? I looked at the window again. The street was empty, but I knew he was out there, waiting, watching, and maybe, just maybe, taking over. After seeing that figure and getting those calls, I knew I had to do something. I couldn't keep guessing what was real or not, so I downloaded some call recording apps. I set up my phone to record every call automatically. I didn't want to miss anything else. I waited. The days went by. Then one night, just past 3 in the morning, my phone rang. I looked at the clock. It was exactly 3:17 a.m. The number was unknown again. I almost didn't answer, but this time I was ready. I pressed the button. The voice came through, but it was different, calmer, sadder, not the heavy breathing or desperate whispers I had heard. Before, this voice was tired, like it had been through a lot. "You don't believe me," the voice said. "I know." The voice sounded like me, but it was soft, broken. "Soon you will believe." I swallowed hard. "What do you mean?" I whispered. There was a pause. Then the voice spoke again. "I thought I was you too." I felt a chill. The words were strange. "I thought I was you. Not anymore." "What do you mean, not anymore?" I asked, my voice shaking. The line went quiet for a long time. Then the voice whispered, almost like it was far away, "I'm not the one calling now. I'm the one being called." I didn't know what to say. My mind was spinning. Could this be me from the future, a warning, or maybe from another timeline? I wanted to believe it was just a bad dream, but it felt real, too real. The voice sounded like it was trapped, like it was trying to escape. "Why are you doing this?" I asked. "Why are you calling me?" "Because if I don't," it said, "you'll lose everything." "Who's you?" I asked. There was a soft sigh. "The real me." The voice was breaking now. "I'm trying to save myself, but I don't know if I can." I felt my heart race. "Save yourself from what?" I asked. "From him, the one who took my place." I didn't understand. Who is him? But the line went dead. I sat there, holding the phone. Questions flooded my head. Was this a message from my future self, or a warning from someone else? Was I living in two timelines? Was I losing my mind? I started to think about all the strange things happening. The calls, the double, the voice that wasn't really me. Maybe I was trapped in some nightmare loop. Maybe my future was already set, or maybe it could still be changed. I decided to listen closely, to watch everything, to remember every call, because maybe, just maybe, this was the last chance. The voice had said, "You'll believe soon," and I didn't want to wait. I wanted to understand. I wanted to know what was coming. The night went on. My phone was silent after that, but I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about the voice, about the future, about who I really was, and if I could save myself at all after that call from the future. Things got worse. The calls didn't stop, but now they were different. Every time the phone rang, I felt a knot in my stomach. I'd pick it up and hear static. Lots of static. It crackled and popped. Sometimes I couldn't tell if anyone was really there. Other times, I heard two voices. One was mine, clear but tired. The other was deeper, whispering, almost like it was speaking under my voice. It said things I couldn't understand, words mixed with sounds, like a language I'd never heard. One night, I heard my voice say, "Run," but then the deeper voice said, "You can't." I froze. The call ended. I sat there, holding the phone, my heart pounding. I started writing everything down, every call, every word, every noise. I didn't want to forget, because sometimes the voice would say things before I even thought them, like it knew my mind. One night, I was sitting on my bed, thinking about a memory. Suddenly, the phone rang. I answered. The voice said, "Don't trust yourself." I whispered, "What?" The voice said again, "Don't trust yourself." It felt like the voice was inside my head, not on the phone. I dropped the phone. I looked around the room. No one was there. I was shaking. I began to feel like I was losing control, like I was being pushed out of my own body. The voices weren't just on the phone anymore. They were everywhere, in my thoughts, in my dreams. Sometimes I woke up and thought I heard someone whispering my name, but when I opened my eyes, there was no one. I started to question what was real. Was I imagining it all? Was I losing my mind? I didn't know. All I knew was I was scared, and I had to keep writing. I wrote about the calls, the voices, the static, even the silence after the calls ended, because I didn't want to forget who I was or what I heard. I hoped if I wrote it down, I could hold on to myself. But sometimes, when I looked at what I wrote, the words looked wrong, like they were written by someone else. I shivered. I didn't know what was happening to me, but I knew one thing: I wasn't alone. Something was there with me, watching, waiting, whispering. One night I heard the phone ring, but it wasn't my phone, not the one on the nightstand or in the living room. This ringing was coming from somewhere else. I got up, heart pounding. It was coming from the back of the house. I don't remember there being a room back there, a storage room maybe. I opened the door slowly. The room was small and dusty. Boxes stacked in corners, cobwebs in the ceiling, and on a small table, an old landline phone. It was yellowed and cracked, like it hadn't been touched in years. The phone rang, AGAINSHARP, loud, insistent. I froze. I wasn't sure if I should pick it up, but I did. I lifted the receiver. Silence. Then suddenly, a voice screamed, "He's here." Then the line went dead. I dropped the receiver. My hands shook. I looked around the room, empty. Just the old boxes and dust. I tried to steady my breathing. Why was there a phone here? Why did it ring? And who screamed into it? I went back to the living room. My phone was quiet. No calls, no messages. I sat down and tried to think. Was I dreaming? Had I imagined the whole thing? But the fear was real. The scream, the words, "He's here." The next day, I searched the house. I asked the landlord about the room. He said, "That's been a storage closet since the house was built. Nobody's used it in years." I asked about the phone. He shrugged. "Old wiring, I guess. Might still work." I felt chills. Who used that phone? Why was it ringing now? And who was he? That night, I stayed awake, listening, waiting. The old phone stayed silent, but I knew it wouldn't stay quiet forever, because whatever was coming was getting closer. I came home from work feeling tired. I just wanted to relax, but something felt off the moment I stepped inside. The shoes by the door weren't where I left them. A pair that was always on the left was now on the right. Not a big deal, but I didn't move them. I walked to the kitchen and saw the drawer slightly open. I know I closed it this morning. I shut it again, telling myself I must have been careless. Then I went to my bedroom. On my desk, there was a small note. It looked like my handwriting, but I swear I didn't write it. The note said, "Stay out." Of the mirror, I stared at it. My hands felt cold. Who wrote this? Why? I picked it up and looked around the room. No one was there. I tried to shake off the fear. Maybe it was a prank. Maybe I left a note from some old time and forgot. But that didn't explain the shoes or the drawer. That night, I stood in front of the big mirror in my bedroom. It was an old mirror, tall and wide, the kind that shows your whole body. I looked at my reflection. I expected it to move when I moved, but it didn't. I moved my hand. The reflection stayed still for a moment. Then slowly, it copied me. It was like watching a delayed video. I blinked, thinking I was tired. But the reflection didn't blink right away. It just stared at me. I felt like it was watching me, studying me. I stepped closer. The reflection smiled, but I didn't smile. I shook my head. The reflection's smile stayed. I reached out to touch the glass. My reflection did the same, but then it stopped copying. It just stood there, grinning. I took a step back, heart racing. "What are you?" I whispered. The reflection didn't answer. It kept smiling. Suddenly, I felt very cold. The room felt heavy, like something was pressing down on me. I wanted to run, but my feet felt stuck. I looked again. The reflection moved its hand toward me. I tried to pull away, but I was frozen. The glass started to ripple like water. The reflection's face changed. It looked angry now, almost ... hungry. I closed my eyes. When I opened them, the mirror was normal. My reflection was back to copying me again. I backed away slowly. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the note. Stay out of the mirror. Why did it warn me? What would happen if I didn't listen? The next morning, I didn't look in the mirror. I avoided it the whole day. But when night came, curiosity pulled me back. I wanted to understand. Was that thing really me? Or was it something else? Was it trying to take my place? I didn't have answers, but I knew one thing. I wasn't the only one living in this house anymore. After the mirror incident, things got worse. I started feeling like I wasn't alone, not just in the house, but inside my own head. At first, it was small. When I was alone, I'd hear faint whispers. Sometimes they sounded like my own thoughts, but not quite. Like someone else's voice echoing in my mind. One night, I was trying to sleep. My eyes were closed, but I heard someone breathing. Not loud, but close, like it was right next to me. I opened my eyes. The room was dark and empty. I told myself it was just my imagination, but the feeling stayed. When I ate, I'd catch myself, staring at my hands, like I wasn't sure if they were mine. I felt like there was someone inside me, watching, waiting. My thoughts stopped feeling like my own. Sometimes I'd be thinking something, then suddenly the idea would change, like someone else took control for a moment. I tried to fight it. I said, "This is my body, not yours." But the thoughts kept coming. One day, I was sitting at the kitchen table. I reached for a glass of water, In my head, I heard a voice say, "Don't drink." I froze. I looked at the glass. Why wouldn't I drink? Was the voice warning me or trying to stop me? I shook my head, confused. The voice whispered again, "Don't trust yourself." I slammed the glass down. I didn't know what to believe anymore. Was I still me, or was someone else inside? The phone stopped ringing. The calls were gone. But the silence wasn't a relief. It was worse, because now I couldn't tell when I was thinking, or when something else was thinking through me sometimes. I'd catch myself doing things I didn't remember deciding, like walking down the hallway, or staring out the window, or just standing in one spot. I tried to tell a friend. "I think I'm losing control," I said, but she didn't understand. She said, "Maybe you're just stressed." Maybe she was right, but the feeling inside me kept growing, like a shadow, like a second person living inside. My mind, I started to talk out loud when I was alone. "Who are you? Why are you here?" No answer, just silence. Sometimes I'd swear I heard a faint laugh, but when I turned, no one was there. One night, I tried to lock the door to my mind. I told myself, "You don't get to take over." But the voice inside whispered back, "You already invited me." I wanted to scream. I wanted to run, but I couldn't escape, because I wasn't alone anymore. And maybe I never was. It was late. I was sitting alone in the dark, trying to ignore everything that had been happening. My phone suddenly rang. The screen showed an unknown number. I didn't want to answer. My hands were shaking, but something made me pick it up. A strange sound came through the line. It wasn't breathing this time. It was quiet, almost nothing. Then a voice, weak, faint, barely human. "You answered too many times," it said. The voice was trembling, like it was slipping away. He used the line. There was a pause. I waited, heart pounding. I'm still here, but not in control. The line went dead. I sat there, frozen. The phone slipped from my hands. I didn't know what to think. What did it mean? Who was he? Who was I? I looked up at the mirror across the room. My own face stared back, but something was wrong. My reflection smiled, a slow, cold smile. I didn't move my lips. I didn't smile, but the reflection did. I blinked. The smile stayed. It was the wrong smile, like it didn't belong to me. I felt a chill run down my spine. I stepped closer. The reflection's eyes seemed darker, empty, like it wasn't really me. I whispered, "What do you want?" The reflection didn't answer. It just kept smiling. I turned away, heart racing. I didn't sleep that night. I kept thinking about the voice on the phone. Not in control. What did that mean? Had I already lost control? Was someone else living in me now? The line had been used, but by who? I kept looking at the mirror, hoping to find answers, but all I saw was that cold smile. I don't know what happened after. I don't know if I'm still me, or if the reflection took over. Sometimes, late at night, I hear my own voice, whispering, but it's not me, it's someone else, and they're still here, waiting. I don't know who I am anymore. I'm sitting here, trying to write everything down, trying to make sense of it all, but something is wrong. The handwriting on the page starts off like mine, neat, shaky, but mine. Then, halfway through, it changes. The letters twist and curl. It's still readable, but it doesn't look like me at all. I stop writing. I don't want to finish it. It feels like someone else is taking over. My phone starts ringing. I see the screen light up. Unknown caller. I don't move. I don't answer. I just watch it ring. Then the screen goes dark. But I don't put the phone down. Instead, I look up at the mirror across the room. My reflection is there. Or it should be, but it's not quite right. The face looks like mine, but colder. The eyes don't blink when I do. The reflection's mouth moves before mine does. Suddenly, the phone in my reflection's hand lights up. It's the same phone I'm staring at. Slowly, the reflection raises it too. Its ear, it whispers, "Hello." I can't breathe. I reach out to touch the mirror. My hand meets cold glass. But the reflection doesn't copy me. It smiles, a slow, quiet smile. Then it lowers the phone and looks right at me. Not like a reflection, like someone else is inside. I want to scream. I want to run, but I'm stuck. The reflection's lips move again. "Who are you?" I shake my head. "I don't know," it whispers back. "Neither do I." Then the phone stops ringing. The room goes silent. I'm alone again, or maybe I'm not. I don't know anymore. I don't know if I'm really me. If the voice on the phone was me. If the face in the mirror is me. I just know I'm scared. And I don't know how to stop this. Maybe I never can. Maybe I'm already gone.